This is good. Every time this happens, I feel that it's good. So do you think Diddy Kong's urine like stinks though?
No, I don't think he eats anything besides bananas.
That's fair, but like, okay, no. What does he drink? Just water?
Bananas.
He drinks like banana smoothies, or he just drinks a banana?
He drinks a banana. When a monkey eats a banana, they have a choice to make. Does it go towards the stomach, or does it go into the bladder?
So he eats it if he chews it. Like the moment he starts chewing, the mechanisms for that pipe are activated, and a banana goes straight to his tummy.
Yeah.
But if he just puts the banana in, he like deep throats it. That's when he drinks it.
You got it.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I would have been thinking about this for a long time, theorizing. Guys, I'm eating colored popcorn.
And I have a cold, so if I make awful sounds, it's because I'm dying.
We're all dying.
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna die soon because I have a cold.
You're gonna die sooner than me.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're playing Mario Maker right now.
I am, yeah.
What are you doing in Mario Maker?
I'm making an underwater level.
Uh-oh.
It's the first time I've ever done one of these.
You know, I tend to hate underwater levels in a lot of games.
A lot of people do. It's a common thing.
It is very common. It's very interesting. But I found a handful in Mario Maker that I've legitimately liked.
You're not going to like this one.
Probably not. I have yet to play any of your levels that you've made on your system. Because
I haven't made any yet. I haven't made any yet.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I totally haven't. So your first level on your system is a water level?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I'm dropping popcorn all down my pants. If somebody wants to come get it.
Hey.
So, speaking of Fat Albert.
Yeah, Kenan Thompson.
Speaking of Kenan. Did Bill Cosby not get, like...
Yeah, he did not get any charges, is what I read. Which is just mind-boggling.
So, I don't know. I don't claim to be a lawyer. I haven't been following super closely. So, I just want to ask a bunch of questions, and not because I'm like, oh, Bill Cosby's fine, because I have no idea. I truly... You know, it seems like we have a lot of evidence that says Bill Cosby did the bad thing lots of times. But it's interesting because now that like this Making a Murderer show is very big right now.
Yeah.
People are keen on justice, right?
Right.
And people are keen on like righting the wrongs of false allegations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's terrifying to me to think that Bill Cosby probably did these things, but nothing's happening, right?
Yeah.
OJ probably killed 2 people. Nothing happened.
OJ wrote a book called If I Did It. He wrote a book called If I Did It, in which he outlined how he would have committed the crime under the presumption that he was not the person who committed the crime.
Well, damn it, OJ.
I don't think Jarrett, that someone named Jarrett just sent me a Facebook request. I'm glad I didn't finish that sentence. I don't think Bill Cosby is like completely off the hook.
Sure.
But 2 of the cases have been dropped.
Okay. So were they dropped in the court or like they settled?
Like the judge determined that too much time had passed.
Oh, see, I don't know about that. Like if they found like evidence that was like, hey man, this is still in question, okay. But if they're just like, well, it's been too long. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you heard about the Jinx? I forget which show it was. I think it was the one that was on HBO. That was like Making a Murderer. That was like Serial. That was a miniseries called The Jinx.
The Jinx, okay.
And it's about this guy named Robert Durst. No relation to Fred, I think.
That's good.
Who? Let's see. He was arrested this year for a first-degree murder warrant.
For Durst-degree murder.
Whoo!
Continue.
I think it was like his wife. His wife disappeared in 1982, and then he killed like his neighbor and a writer.
Okay, a writer
in like 2000. Yeah, in 2000 and 2001.
Okay.
And he was completely off the hook. but he agreed to. This is the like seriously, you have to see the clip. It's I don't want to. I have to spoil it to tell the story because it's so amazing. But so it's this whole mini series like where they're interviewing him and like kind of talking about like, man, all the evidence points to you. He's like, I know, but I didn't do it. Like, what are you gonna do? And so it's just like episode. It's 6 episodes, and in the final 6th episode, he sits through this interview with the person at the end of the episode, and then the person who interviewed him that's like working on the show is like, all right, well, you know, that's a wrap, whatever. So Durst gets up and he walks to the bathroom and his mic is live and he doesn't realize that the mic that's clipped to him is still live, and he's just talking to himself about how he killed all of those people and how no one realizes no one can pin it on him.
Oh, Jesus.
It's the funniest, like, most fucked up thing. He was in jail now because he did that.
Well, that's what you get for self-appreciation. Dang. Okay. I'm sure eating popcorn. I'm eating popcorn to you telling me this.
Yeah. How good of a story it is.
That's right. I had to sit down and eat my popcorn while I watch. I'm going to get fat. My New Year's resolution has been to... I didn't make one, but I'm trying to eat less food, but I love food, too, so I keep eating it.
Popcorn is really healthy if you make it right.
This is not healthy. Not this particular. It's delicious. It's sweet and just like somewhat sour.
Mm-hmm. So you got sweet and sour popcorn?
Yeah, it's Asian. Some of the best. I'm gonna finish up this bag. It's gonna be so bad. Okay, so I spent. Well, okay. I'm gonna tell you a story about Blizzard.
Yeah.
So I just got my account back online.
Right. I know about you like not having your account.
Yeah, for a very long time. I had it a couple years ago. Wings of Liberty came out, I guess it was like 5 years ago. Dang, okay. And got my account, played some Wings of Liberty, got hacked, submitted my credentials, got my account back. Got an authenticator app for my phone, played some more Wings of Liberty. My account got hacked again. And then I got it reinstated and then hacked again like a month later. And I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Because all I want to do is play this game. And it's such a to-do to get everything all set up and going again. So I was on the website last night. And a friend of ours actually works Blizzard Tech Support. And he helped me sort of handle everything in an expedient manner. But I went to go to like the the troubleshooting customer support, you know, like help me out section.
Yeah.
Customer support. And he goes, what are you having issues with? So I put logging in. Like click down at the bottom, like, you know, you can either phone chat, you can instant message chat, or you can write in a ticket. So I click on that and he goes, yeah, well, you have to log in to submit this query. To which, you know, I can do nothing because that's the problem.
Right.
And so, like, I had to navigate this website a multitude of times in ways that did not make any sense because you have to click on, like, a separate icon that's, like, well, not icon, but, like, text that's much smaller that says, having trouble logging in, which I respond, yes, because that's why I click the button that says I can't log in.
Right.
Reaffirm that I'm having trouble logging in to be sent to a separate screen that looks almost exactly the same. It just says, you know, chat, phone call, and message. So finally get that all taken care of. They get me online. I'm good to go. But now that I've got my computer back, it's back from the Asians. I assume it was like a Chinese gold farmer who was dismayed to find that I only had like StarCraft 1 and 2 on my account. I have nothing else. No World of Warcraft account. No Diablo. Oh, but I had Lost Vikings, Blackthorn, and Rock and Roll Racing on there.
Right, those were given away for free, I think.
And I didn't even know that. I just popped on and they were like just on my account. So I was like, okay, well that sounds good. I'll play those later. Now I'm downloading all my games. I got my Heart of the Swarm. Got my Protoss's Big Adventure, because I don't remember what it's called.
Legacy of the Void.
Right. Yeah, the other name. And I went and got my Steam account hooked back up. Like, it wasn't ever unhooked, but I switched over like a hard drive because I had a solid state running all my main stuff, and that started getting filled up really quick because it's small. It's like 200 gigs, I think. It's just OS and like other small bits and pieces right now. So I've been moving all my stuff around, getting my computer rearranged, accepting friend requests, updating all my video drivers, getting like everything good to go. Because I keep thinking one day I'm going to sit down and actually play my computer. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I started playing Undertale. I played for about an hour. Really dug it. Looked at my Steam account and was like, I've got 6 of my 10 games installed, so let me get everything installed just in case I decide I do want to play Surgeon Simulator again. And now I'm prepared. And this is it. I'm gonna become a PC gamer. That's not true. I'm just saying that, and it's for posterity. But I want to play a little bit more because I have a nice computer.
Yeah. I totally get that. Like, I'm not a PC guy either, but like I have so many games on my Steam now that I play a lot of PC games.
Mm-hmm. What's been one of your favorites recently?
Rocket League.
God, Rocket League. Yeah. Rocket League. That's the big.
I mostly play Rocket League and Counter-Strike. I played a lot of Trackmania. What else have I been really kind of interested in lately? Super Win the Game. I'm enjoying a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sequel to You Have to Win the Game, which I've told you about before.
I downloaded it. I have it on my computer now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Metroidvania Super Meat Boy, like almost like a VVVVVV kind of game.
My favorite.
And Super Win the Game is the sequel that is not free. It's like it cost me $1 during the Steam sale, which is why I picked it up. But it's more NES style. Like You Have to Win the Game is like an old CGA computer game, like 4-color, everything's magenta and cyan sort of thing. And Super Win the Game, it's very heavily inspired by Zelda 2.
Oh.
Yeah, but it still maintains sort of the core gameplay with some new additions.
Okay. I'll have to give that a shot as well. I say that, it's not going to happen, but I'm saying it because it makes me feel good.
If you say it out loud, it's like The Secret. If you say it out loud, then it becomes true. Even if you don't do it.
That's right.
I've got a lot of games on my Steam that I really want to play too. Like I've got Deadly Premonition. I just have not gotten to that. I've had it for a long time now, and I really want to play it, but I just haven't gotten to it because I have a million games.
Very entertaining.
Yeah.
I think you'll like it. Okay. So speaking of PCs, there was an announcement today.
Yep.
About the Oculus.
It's expensive.
It's more expensive than anybody thought it was going to be because they said it wouldn't be that expensive.
Right.
So, because they were thinking, what, $300 to $400, I think was what they sort of projected.
Yeah, and now it's $600.
Now it's $600. It comes with, what, 2 controllers and a game?
I think so. But what's really got a lot of people, I mean, I think that's a lot of money for a VR headset, but I think what's got a lot of people really upset about it is that the other thing they announced is the kind of computer you're going to need to properly run the Oculus Rift.
Right.
It's a $1,000 machine minimum.
Yeah. So you can buy the bundle for like, what, $1,500 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Something that would do it, but nonetheless, like, yeah, you have to have a pretty beefy machine. And, I mean, I was reading a little bit as to why they ended up upping the price on it. And with their dev kit, too, I think they've done a bunch of testing and realized that like, there were certain things, I think, with refresh rates and resolution that they had to simply enhance. And when it came down, he said, well, the only choice that we have at this point is to make the hardware better for the user experience because people aren't liking it, and that's going to drive up the cost, and we just have to forego our projection. So there are things that make sense, but there's also things that's like that hurts for people that you promised that to that now have no choice. But for people that I understand that bought the dev kit 1, or like they kickstarted it, they backed it, they get a retail unit. Is that not correct?
I don't know about that. It sounds either they get that or they get, you know, like a really good discount on it, maybe.
Okay, because I thought I had read that they actually get like a full one of their own of the retail kit, but I don't know. And I'd messed around with the Oculus Rift. I had a dev kit one that you tried.
Yep.
Good time with it. Very, very cool. I would like to actually try like a full retail kit because if it really is that much better, I'd consider doing something with that and thinking, I could play these things and have a good time. And right now, I'm not going to be using it enough as more than like just a novelty.
Right.
It's simply like, hey, this is neat. And I like 3D, I like head tracking, I like all the features, but I'm not going to use it enough to justify that currently. 2 360 controllers, I believe, is what it comes with. And I don't have any idea what the game is.
It's kind of interesting that you just get a 360 controller. Like,
yeah, the partnership with Microsoft or whatever endorsement is going on is always really strange. That it's sort of just like the default, computer accessory. I guess if you're running like a Windows machine, which they just presume that you are, I guess, it makes. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so dev kit, Oculus finalized.
I feel like they certainly have the name brand recognition. I think when people think VR, they think Oculus.
Yeah, at this point, the hype is.
But there's so many different options now. It doesn't seem like it's enough to just be Oculus at this point.
Right.
Like Samsung's models are really cheap and Sony's models look amazing. Like they just look fully fleshed out and like more well presented.
It is, yeah. It's a very attractive display, and the Oculus is kind of like, oh, this is just the retail version of what you've already seen. But yeah, Sony's is very classy looking. It's very much, like cyberpunk, utopian, dystopian future like living room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was wondering about that, and I kept thinking, well, if the Oculus team can develop a headset for like $200, very affordable, VR might actually have a chance of being somewhat mainstream. And I fear with like prices that still continue to raise like this, that it pushes the exclusivity. Holy crap, exclusivity so much that like you're still kind of like, well, I'm on the fence, as opposed to, oh, totally, I'll buy that for $200.
Yeah.
And it still keeps it in the realm of it's cool, but it's not mainstream enough for them to have the kind of support that will justify this being like something that catches on fully. It's just like another cool high-end PC peripheral.
Yeah. I was always skeptical about it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I still think it could be successful, but
mm-hmm.
I certainly feel like I made the safer call.
Yeah. That's a very lovely choice you made.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Margaret.
You're welcome. Sure. Okay. So now with that out of the way,
yeah,
Bayou Billy
is out on the virtual console.
Yeah, Bayou Billy is a virtual console release. I think
now that I saw the full list, I kind of understand it.
Because it's like a light gun theme.
Yeah.
That had Wild Gunman and Hogan's Alley?
Wild Gunman, Hogan's Alley, and Bayou Billy.
Yeah, Bayou Billy, which is really funny because, well, I guess if they're straight going with like light gun games for the NES, that's a weird choice. But it's weird that like Nintendo would approach Konami like, hey, do you have any light gun games we could use? And they're like, yeah. And like, I don't know how
we have Laser Invasion and Bayou Billy. What do you want?
So I wonder what like the conversation was, or if Nintendo was just like looking at the list of light gun games and decided, well, let's see if Konami is gonna give us this one. Kind of like, yeah, we don't care, like whatever, Here's sign the paperwork and just hand it over to Nintendo as fast as they can.
You want what now? Done.
Yeah, and they have no interest in anything other than, will it make us some money? So
I just hope this opens the door for a Bayou Billy patchy slot machine.
Exactly. It's going to be brought back into the limelight, and they have one more final Smash Brothers announcement. You thought we were done, but now you can truly have Bayou Billy versus Bayonetta, like the internet's been clamoring for 5 years.
Like my fan fiction.
Exactly. If Konami, for whatever reason, opted out of pulling Snake from Smash Brothers and putting Bayou Billy in there, and not Simon Belmont, and not Sparkster.
Nope, not. They have so many Like they have all the Hudson licenses too, like Bomberman.
Oh, sure, all the Hudson stuff, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, Bayou Billy.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience with that game?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to point out that I just learned that there was a Bayou Billy comic book series.
I did not know that.
There was 5 issues between September 1989 and June 1990, published by Archie Comics.
Okay. What? Sorry,
That's okay.
my phone went crazy.
So I borrowed Bayou Billy, I think, from a neighborhood kid growing up, and it didn't work very well. Like, I don't. First of all, I think this is universally true, and you owning 2 gaming stores,
Yeah,
can hopefully verify this for me.
sure.
I don't think there's a single copy of Bayou Billy in existence that isn't filthy. That isn't just the most disgusting, poorly treated cartridge.
Well, they were printed in the swamps of Louisiana, so they had to have been, and like no one ever bothered cleaning them. But it's true. I think every single copy that's come through has had some sort of filth on it.
Yeah. We had a really hard time getting it to work, and when we did get it to work, we didn't like it.
We still played it.
I still played it a lot, and I have like this sort of. It became a joke with us. It was like a meme between me and my brother growing up that just Bayou Billy was like the de facto worst game that you could play.
Mm-hmm.
But I still played it a lot, and like I went back and tried to play it recently, and I fucking struggled with it.
Yeah, it's clunky.
But the music is really good.
Konami music does not have a history of being bad on the NES, I think, on any game.
Yeah. And so like that alone, and especially like, the intro graphic too, is very unique for the NES with like the zoomed in scrolling letters that Konami did a lot on the Super Nintendo.
Right.
With Turtles in Time and Contra 3. But I don't remember any game having that on the NES.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very eye-catching to have those like Ninja Gaiden cinematic cutscenes with that sort of scrolling text.
Right.
It really stands out to me.
No, I agree. There were some technical things about that game that were very impressive and a lot of fun. Well, not fun, but fun theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fact that it had like a driving and shooting level,
yes,
was spectacular.
And there are a couple other games that do that on the NES, but not with the light gun. And that's what really makes that a standout to me. So,
this game, because I haven't tried any light gun games on the Virtual Console at this point, which I think is just Duck Hunt right now.
Yeah.
I would imagine it has to actually pull up a cursor for you to shoot at because you're not using like light gun targeting. You're using aiming targeting.
Yeah, you're using one of these.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it does.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because I haven't looked at the target. I wonder if it's some sort of other program with like a higher resolution overlay that just has an NES game running behind it.
Yeah.
That would make the most sense, sort of like how they're retooling Pokemon Red Blue as eShop games for the added functionality as opposed to making straight Virtual Console releases with modified data.
Yeah.
So kind of cool to think we can do that. But there's one thing I've noticed about light gun games. I don't dislike them. I like them very much. People's memories of them are extremely misleading.
Yeah.
In most cases, somebody who comes in the store looking for a copy of Duck Hunt or something will go home
and come back later that day.
Literally never care about that game ever again because they've gotten their fill because that's all it is. And that's fine. Some people genuinely like it, but I don't think very many people do. I probably wouldn't play Duck Hunt for much longer than a couple minutes either. I remember this, it's good. A game like House of the Dead or Ghost Squad or Jurassic Park or whatever. Those are a very different kind of presentation and replayability, especially with multiplayer. But it's funny that light gun games and the nostalgia it's very short-lived.
Yeah.
If you had to choose a light gun game to play for the rest of your life, anyone, and this could be on any system. It could be
Metal Combat, Falcon's Revenge.
Arcade. Which one?
Metal Combat, Falcon's Revenge.
Oh, Super Scope.
I love that game. I think it's perfect. I think that the Super Scope is a terrible, terrible peripheral, and I hate it. I hate the Super Scope. But I love Metal Combat. I love Battle Clash, too. Metal Combat takes everything Battle Clash does and makes it 100 times better. I think I could sell someone a Super Scope solely on Metal Combat.
Mortal Kombat, yeah, it was pretty sweet. What about on TinStar?
Well, you can play TinStar with a mouse. I did not know that the director of TinStar was Marcus Lindblom.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that either. He wasn't just a fancy translator.
Nope.
Or writer, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, he started out working for the hint lines like everybody at NOA at that time frame. And he worked his way up to like marketing and did some of the... Maybe I'm getting that confused with... Because there was an article recently that confirmed that Lemmy was named after Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead.
Yes.
So I might be getting those confused, but I'm pretty sure I know he worked at the hint lines also. And then it was like, oh, he lived in Japan for 4 years. Like he can do some minor... I think he started out translating manuals.
Okay.
And then from there he got... I think Earthbound was first, and then TinStar, and then he went on to work with a different company. And a lot of not notable things.
That happened with Ted Woolsey. He did Final Fantasy, and then they put him on, what, like Shadow Madness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, after Earthbound, he did... so it lists TinStar first. He was the designer of TinStar in '94, which seems early to me. TinStar to me was a very late Super Nintendo.
Was later, yeah.
And then he was localization on Wario's Woods, both versions, Earthbound, and then Mario Tennis for the Virtual Boy.
Like localization, like for like the manuals and stuff?
I would assume so. There's not really a lot to...
I was going to say, I can't imagine, that game having a lot besides like an ending credit screen.
And then it looks like he went to EA because his next project was NBA Live 97 for the PC.
That's not exciting.
Associate producer and localization.
Well, I guess money's money, right?
And then he did NHL 97, Need for Speed Special Edition, Need for Speed 2, NBA Live 98, and then Army Men Sarge's Heroes for the Dreamcast. And this is when he started becoming a producer. That's his first producer credit. Other games in his producer credit, Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about that game. Okay. So, you know how like Mace Windu is like, it looks like what's his name from Mortal Kombat? His big hat.
Raiden.
The other guy, Kung Lao.
Kung Lao.
Kung Lao. So I was hanging out with Dave Gilligan, and we were reading the instruction manual to Mace Windu. Mace Griffin, sorry.
Mace Windu Power Trucker.
Power Trucker. Yeah, as a Star Wars Ultra like spinoff. And Mace Griffin, Bounty Hunter. And, like games were still coming into an interesting era of 3D at that point. This is like the second generation of like real 3D games. And there's like a lot of hiccups along the way, and they're really trying to focus on like a storytelling aspect and making sure that, hey, you're playing this game because there's a strong narrative to drive you and you're excited because you want to know what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And we were reading the instruction manual, and like it's going through, and there's like it's talking about different weapons and different the different planets, and one of them, I don't know why this is so funny. There's like just like a big like abominable snow yeti looking monster, right? And it was called, and it said the description was Norbu or Ice Beast. So they have like genuine lore that they started to establish. That was the only monster that was named with like a sort of alternate description if you didn't know what its proper.
Right, if you don't know what a Norbu is.
Yeah. Here, this is a Norbu. You might know it as an Ice Beast.
Right, if you're from this planet.
Yeah. So...
If you're not from this planet, then you know it as a Norbu and not an Ice Beast.
Right, yeah.
But they're the same thing, obviously.
Yeah, we don't call them Ice Beasts here.
Right, it's a regional dialect.
Right. That's like a derogatory term.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What'd you call me?
Oh, Mace Griffin. I really miss like the PS2 era because I think I know the PS2 had a lot of great games, and I love the PS2. But there was so much crap on that system.
Yeah.
There was so much, and people like think of it as, the PS2 is the best because it has the most games. and then they say, well, like the DS or the Wii S or the Wii S, the Wii. Well, dang, dude. It has too much shovelware. And I think about
Ford versus Chevy.
I think about Ford versus Chevy coming out. I think they even had 2 of those.
There was also Jimmy Johnson's Anything with an Engine, but I think that was on the Wii also.
Yeah, so you can release anything on a popular system. And that's sort of like the hallmark of a popular system is that if you've got a lot of games, good or bad, your system is successful.
Right.
PS2 had a lot of shitty games, but a lot of great ones, successful machine. The Wii, you don't have to like the Wii or anything. It's a popular system. It sold stupid amounts of units, and it had a lot of shovelware. And that's just how these things go, because people say the common denominator is 80 million people own this machine. If we make a game for it, somebody's going to buy it, and probably enough people to justify this cost. Look at the PC. I mean, the PC, everybody's got a PC, and there's garbage games everywhere. You can still walk into a Best Buy, and they have 20 different versions of, Cake Mania.
Yeah, Nancy Drew's Hidden Object.
Right. Yeah, so there's still, junk on there. So shovelware isn't necessarily a bad marking, You kind of have to weed through it. But even like the Famicom, Super Famicom, in Japan especially, they had so much garbage. Tons of crap.
And they kind of use it as a point of pride. Like they're like, hey, you want a Super Nintendo game that costs like 2,000 yen instead of the normal 6,500? Like,
right.
We got you covered. Here's a really crappy puzzle game, but it's cheap.
Yeah, you want to buy this one instead. And then Japanese mom goes out and buys Panel de Puzzle or whatever, and then kid comes home and then becomes a depressed salaryman and kills himself.
Yeah.
So
the Japanese dream.
Right, exactly. That's the ultimate fantasy. Nippon Fantasy 2000X on PlayStation. Okay. But yeah, there's something like a charm of the era where they tried a lot of stuff, and they really wanted licensed games to be a big thing.
Right.
And they threw James Bond on there, and they threw Marvel, franchise all over the place, and none of them were good. Spider-Man was arguably like the best of any of the superhero games.
Mm-hmm.
But
I did like Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. I thought that was pretty fun.
Is that where you could ride the skateboarder or the bus around like a skateboard?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It's like an open world game, but it's also like mission based.
Yeah.
And so you can upgrade the Hulk, which is kind of the most ridiculous concept in the world.
Upgrade him, yeah, exactly. Give him stronger fingers.
Like, man, I wish the Hulk could do more.
A lot of people say that. That's what people think about when the Hulk comes up in discussion. Is he's pretty powerful, but
yeah, he's no Cap. He's no Deadpool.
Right. I wish he could regenerate. But
what?
Licensed games. They had Terminator. They had several Terminator games, and they were all terrible. But I was thinking about how they wanted to capitalize so bad on the success of a good game, they just made another GoldenEye. And it wasn't GoldenEye, but it was called GoldenEye. Because they were like, well, people remember GoldenEye. If we call our new game GoldenEye, people will want to buy it because it's James Bond, and people remember that. Are you talking to GoldenEye right now?
Yeah, I'm talking to GoldenEye.
Okay, good.
I'm talking to Sheryl Crow, who did the theme song to the Bond movie after GoldenEye, I think.
Was it Everything or Nothing?
Tomorrow Never Dies.
I don't know. Didn't Whitney Houston do a James Bond song?
I think so. That seems plausible.
It does. I still need to see the new James Bond, Spectre.
Yeah.
I have not seen that one. But it's weird because there's a charm to that. There's a charm to the PS2 generation. And I played a lot of crappy games and I was excited for them. I remember Chaos Legion was being, touted as this, hey, this is a Capcom action game. You're going to be so excited. And I remember playing it, and it was just the most nondescript action game with a spiky-haired hero, and it was like Devil May Cry light.
Yeah, I do like Chaos Legion a lot, though. I sell people on that game.
But I totally enjoyed it. I picked it up. I liked the graphics. It had that PS2, it was tremendously jaggy. But
yeah,
I loved it. What was the one? You could unlock Morgan and Lilith as skins for the main characters. It was another Capcom action game. I have it in the other room. Was that with a C? Crimson something? Corn?
Crimson Corn.
Corn.
I know the game you're talking about. It has like a red and white cover.
Yeah.
Demon something.
Demon Stone had a red and white cover. But
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But that's not. That's an Atari game. God.
I don't know. And I want to say Crimson Sea, but that's 100% not it.
That's a Koei game.
These guys. Capcom PS2 action game. But then you had like gems that did come out, like Devil May Cry. And then you had, a slew of great RPGs. You had
Devil Kings? Devil Kings.
It wasn't Devil Kings.
It wasn't Devil Kings?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go look real quick. I'm gonna go check my PS2 games.
No, I got this.
You got it? You sure?
Yeah, give me time.
Okay. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Ooh.
Wow.
Shabba dabba dabba.
Quit using Google.
I'm not. I'm using capcom.wikia.com.
That's right.
It's not Haunting Ground.
Not Hunting Ground. That's what Ashley and the dog.
Yeah.
Which I like that as well too. There was a really interesting resurgence of horror games because Silent Hill 2 started a really good trend, and there was a really steady stream. There was Rule of Rose. There was Kuon,
yeah.
Kuon. There was
Crimson Tears.
Crimson Tears. Yes, that was it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, all of those games are really expensive. They're like the most valuable PS2 games.
Yeah, I can't find them now. Siren
was interesting.
It was interesting. There's a lot of things I liked about it, and one thing I truly didn't like about it.
The fact that it wasn't fun?
Well, that wasn't a fun game. I didn't really play it. I just watched a buddy play it, and I really liked watching him play. But I didn't like how everything was like the most Japanese-themed thing ever. Their face looked really creepy. I liked that. Their faces, their names, the location, and then the unjarring expectation that their voices are all just British.
Yeah.
Because they dubbed it instead of just leaving it Japanese, which I'm fine with dubbing, but I was also during an era when dubbing was
not good.
Still coming into its own for quality purposes. And it threw off on an authenticity that I wanted, which is expecting Japanese people to sound Japanese. Not that they can't be British, but I just find it unlikely.
I don't think they can be British.
I don't think so. Then you had like some other experimental stuff. There was the game where you'd use the microphone and command the chick to like do things.
Lifeline, yeah.
And like it didn't really work very well, but I liked it.
The idea is so good.
Yeah,
the execution is so bad.
It's like Seaman, except for with a really dumb lady.
And there's a lot of games. Like I feel like the games that are not like that are B- on the PS2 are so much better than what you would call a B- on any other system.
That's fair.
Things like Lifeline, Run Like Hell. I like Unlimited Saga. I know that game is pretty much like universally panned by people, but I think like a lot of these games, like on a conceptual level, are so interesting.
I like that they tried some really weird stuff. It's a very experimental era, especially for Nintendo.
Yeah,
they were like saying, well, Metroid's no longer side-scrolling. Metroid's now first-person. Zelda games are no longer mature-looking. Zelda games are cel-shaded. Mario is going to have a new jetpack that helps him fly around with water on an island. A lot of the franchises, and they did very different things with them, and that was exciting. And I'm trying to think of PC gaming at the time. So all I remember is World of Warcraft had sort of just started. This is like around like the 2004 era.
Yeah.
And I started playing it for a little bit then, but that was not exactly my thing. I played Final Fantasy 11 for a little bit as well too. I played that for a couple months with some friends and decided that it took up too much time, so I stopped.
Yeah, I was not doing like any PC gaming at that time, so I can't even think of what would have been big around then.
Right. DDR was very big at the time.
Yes, very big in my life.
Very big in your life. In Xbox, what was really interesting to me is that despite all the systems being fairly similar in terms of power, I mean, you know, one's more powerful than the other clearly, but they were all fairly comparable. Xbox had such a distinct look to it. Like everything was
Yeah.
sort of glossy and glowy.
I don't like it, but it stands out to me so much.
It does. It's like it has a nostalgic element, but yeah, everything sort of had like this. Like, look at this on my shoulder. It's like glowing.
Yeah.
That's an Xbox game. And I found it cool simply because it represented something visually that was like, oh, that's identifiable.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of neat. Also, the Xbox, for all intents and purposes, was just like a super Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Controller design.
If it was not your first system, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
If you have been playing games for a long time, you're like, oh, well, I want Shenmue and Panzer Dragoon and Jet Set Radio and
Yeah. Completely. Mm-hmm. But I remember being blown away even by Abe's Odyssey, because Abe's Odyssey at the time, or not Odyssey, Munch's Odyssey,
mm-hmm.
looked to me, the graphics were to the point where I looked at it and said, hey, this visual quality has actually now finally matched up with the CG from like the PlayStation 1 era.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it looked like. So I was so excited to play the game because it was so colorful. I went back and played through it recently because I was playing the HD version on PS3 or whatever. And I forgot that game has like Turok amounts of fog. They did a pretty bad job of the draw distance. But it also was using like a lot of really high-res textures, and they were, using some, I think, real-time shadows for certain things. But I was a sucker for whenever they added those effects. So whenever that happened in that era, Soul Calibur 2, I remember started doing the cast shadows. And I was always a big fan of that.
Soul Calibur 2 is beautiful.
It was a beautiful game. It runs super smoothly. It looks great. Great models, great animation. Yeah, it was a pretty powerful step up. So, what else happened this week?
Games Done Quick is going on right now.
Oh, that's right. I always forget about that. A rumor has surfaced.
Yeah.
Says the NX is going to be announced in June and coming out this fall. What do you think?
I think that's on target. I think they should delay it more.
I think that's what's going to happen. I don't feel the system's going to be ready for this year, but I think they're going to reveal their plans for it at E3, discuss it a little bit more prior, and then do like a full-on public media like presentation. And I don't feel that this holiday is going to be the right time to do that.
Yeah, it's not. It's too off target. They're setting themselves up to Dreamcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good thing.
Mm-mm.
I just saw something that I wanted. Nintendo announced that they are going to be start selling for a few months at least refurbed 2DSs for $60,
Mm-hmm.
which is an amazing deal.
No, great deal. What actually I suggest to a lot of customers that come in is that if you go to Nintendo's online store, you can get refurbished units for significantly cheaper than you can anywhere else. Used prices, stores, even like us, we can't beat a lot of those prices. So it's a good idea to go snag some of those from Nintendo. Wii U's and controllers and all that kind of stuff. You can straight up get it way cheaper through their online store. $60, man. It's a good deal.
Yep.
So with your Wii U, you're playing Mario Maker.
I'm playing Mario Maker. I also picked up Epic Mickey 2. I have not started playing that yet.
Cheap too, right?
What's that?
Oh, so it's fairly cheap now.
Yeah, I picked it up. I picked up a used copy for $7.
No, not bad.
Which is the reason why I picked it up. Like I was looking at for Wii U games, and I was like, well, Ultimate NES Remix is great,
Mm-hmm.
and like Yoshi's Woolly World is exciting, and Rodea the Sky Soldier is apparently not very good, so I skipped that one. But then I was kind of like, well, I want to pick up something, but I wanted to pick up a lot of things, and I did. I got so much games last weekend, so many games, so much game. Good, yeah. So I wound up just kind of getting a little bit of everything, and I was like, well, it's $7, and like it, at worst, it's going to be an average game.
Right. No. I ended up playing it when it first came out. Juanita picked it up. We played co-op for a bit. Have you tried it?
Mm-mm.
I think. Did you play the first Epic Mickey?
I played it for like a little bit, and I didn't really enjoy it.
It sucks because it's a phenomenal idea, phenomenal art direction, phenomenal concept, marred by, once again, one of those I'm so excited to make my game. I don't know if I've made sure to make it sure that's a fun game.
Yeah.
You know? And that's very much like Devil's Third kind of thing is like, we're going to do this and it's going to be so cool because this idea is great that, well, how does it play?
Yeah.
You know? It's kind of unfortunate. But Warren Spector had a great idea, and I really like it. Steampunk, gross, like dying Disney characters, you know, like halfway animatronic, like face melting off, goofy, creepy renditions of a small world where you're fighting gigantic monsters outside of the small world building. Great concepts, truly. And it's just a shame that like when you play, you're just like, this is average. This is just an average PS2 game. That's, you know,
Yeah.
what that feels like. But, you know, I do like seeing that like that kind of passion goes into it, and then I also like when it's on sale for $7.
Right.
So that we're giving GameStop $7 and not Warren Spector.
Yeah. I also picked up a couple Wii games that I had missed out on. Samba de Amigo I got for $1 at GameStop.
Oh, good.
I got Mario Super Sluggers.
Excellent. I like Mario Super Sluggers.
I played the GameCube one, and I was like, it's serviceable. Like, it's...
Yeah. It's basic.
Yeah.
NES baseball game. My biggest beef with that game is that if you are batting and you hit a ball to the pitcher, it goes straight through the pitcher. They can't catch it. So like you could hit it straight to the third, like the second baseman, and that's fine. But if you hit it, it goes right through the pitcher's body, and you can't do anything.
That is a problem.
It is. It's a problem in my town, my hometown. Sky Soldier.
Yeah. It's interesting. Did you read what Yuji Naka said about that game?
No.
He was like, we developed it for the Wii, and we put it out on like the 3DS and the Wii U, and it suffers for it. And if you just play the Wii version, that was technically unreleased. Like if you, I don't know if it's going to be the same on later printings, but if you pick up like a first run of the Wii U version, it comes with the Wii disc as well.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
And that is the way that the game is meant to be played. And that it goes from being like pure, like just barely below average, like not quite worth your time, to like, it's all right.
That's so interesting. So it's not just like an HD upscale? What is
No. It's like a whole different control scheme.
Fascinating. If you could upscale any game to HD, and like we're not going to be like full on remake, okay?
Just
but like
upscale?
an upscaled, optimized port.
You know, a lot of stuff like that just doesn't matter to me.
I'll just say just for shits and giggles, you want, you know, like real-time shadows and cool reflections.
Yeah, these are the things that I don't care about in games.
Sure.
So, like, it would have to be something that is just like so visually striking. Like, it would almost be something like Jammer Lammy, where I would just want like really good like paper textures and like a sort of really popped out kind of 3D look to things,
That'd be sweet.
even though everything is 2D.
Yeah, it's all frivolous, but like just something that'd be like, oh man, that looks cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jammer Lammy would be pretty rad. Plus, it's a great game.
I agree. I think it's better than Parappa, and it upsets me that didn't get a sequel. Like, I love Parappa. I was telling a friend of mine actually yesterday that like it was Jason. I was talking to Jason about, because he was talking to me about, we were talking about our history in music games and like what got us into them and all that. And he was talking about how Bust a Groove was the game that really got him into it. Because he mentioned something about Bust a Groove, and I was like, I've never played it. I've played like one level for, the 2 minutes that it takes, and I know the I Love Hamburgers song, and that's all I know about Bust a Groove. And I said, what I wanted when I was a kid, and I wanted a PlayStation, I wanted it for 3 games. I wanted Final Fantasy VII, I wanted Final Fantasy Tactics, and I wanted Parappa the Rapper, which was interesting to me because I wasn't really into music games. Like, as the idea was so far from what I would normally be interested in, but just the concept and the graphical style of it was fascinating to me, to have like a game that revolved around music.
I think just looking at like screenshots and EGM or whatever, selling point, because why does the game look like that and what it looks so different. So what is like the first real music-based game that you played that had like a focus on music? Because Parappa was pretty early on when it came to the establishing of like rhythm based.
Yeah, I think it's usually cited as the first.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else, even like a mini game somewhere that had a similar pretense.
I'm sure there's something out there, but
Yeah, that might be the first one that I played.
But for me, it would actually be a Beatmania sim. So yeah, I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, and they're saying that Parappa has been deemed the first influential rhythm game, and then Beatmania came out a year after that.
Rodney Greenblatt, man.
Yeah.
What he did.
This article actually mentions Dance Aerobics for the NES being sort of the first.
Okay. So, but that's like still like a body movement game rather than like a finger tapping like music game.
Yeah. Yeah, but it does really, like, if you play it, it really does kind of have a lot of the same. The only thing that really differentiates it is that you don't get a lot of time to plan your movement.
Fair.
But the core gameplay is very similar. So they mentioned Simon being the first one. That's a call and response mechanic. And then Dance Aerobics, and then Parappa.
Okay. Yeah, so I was gonna say I can't really think of anything like on like the Super Nintendo. I feel like there should have been like some game where you have to press like A and Y or something in like some sort of rhythm.
Right. When you think about the way that the genre works, like there's no reason it can't work on any console. You could very easily just have an Atari rhythm game.
Yes.
But
they just never.
It didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Yeah. So I feel for some reason like there was something on the Super Nintendo or whatever, but no, I just there straight up was not.
Yeah. So I was interested in Parappa, but I never got a chance to. I still to this day don't own Parappa 1. I have the second one. And then I tried to beat Mania Sim just because it was put on the same website as a bunch of emulators that I was downloading.
Michael.
And the idea sounded interesting to me. And I was terrible at it. And I physically said out loud, like, this is impossible. How can anyone do this? So, oh, how stupid I look in the future. But
right. You look back at yourself.
Yeah, and then I didn't play any games like that again until DDR. And that was in 2002. So that was even still pretty late compared to a lot of people who were, playing it as it was becoming big. I was probably a year or two behind that.
Did you, how did you feel about early Beatmania games? Because you were playing them sort of like the PS2 era of Beatmania, yeah?
Yeah, but I didn't have, what I had when I first started getting into DDR was the Goldfinger, which is sort of just like a pro action replay, clips into the back. And the arcade versions of DDR are Japanese in origin, and the home versions in America at the time, they got a lot better. But at the time, they were very slapdash, and like the song selection was just not great. And so I was like, well, I want to play the songs that I like to play in the arcade. And I did my research, and I did my homework, and I found out that if you got the import versions, those songs were pretty much all there. Like, they weren't all on one disc, but you could collect them all and sort of build your library. So I went to the local game store in town, the local specialty game store, I should say, and he had a couple versions, and he told me that, yeah, if you buy the Goldfinger, you can just go online, look up the codes to bypass the region lock and play them that way. So I did that. And I was getting import DDR games, even just like a couple months into my playing DDR. And then a couple months later, we got a Beatmania machine in one of the arcades that I frequented. And I was like, oh, it's that thing. Like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this time. And so I got really into Beatmania, and I wanted the PS2 games. And I very, very quickly thereafter imported the Japanese PS2 in order to get the PS2 ones. But my first real experience was with the older versions.
Okay.
I think they're bad.
Yeah.
I think like visually they're hideous, and musically the music is almost universally terrible.
Yeah.
But I have kind of a soft spot for them on that sort of prototypical, like, we're trying something really new here. Like, the idea up to that point, like, you would hire a composer to write songs for your video game. But you would either steer them in the direction you wanted, I would think, based on the genre and the style of the game, or you would hire them because you wanted their style of song.
Mm-hmm.
And so Konami at this point is hiring composers to, I know that they had like some direction in mind at the time, but they're hiring composers at this point to say like basically, hey, we want you to make dance music, but not like for clubs or for radio airplay. Like we just want a representation of that in our video game that's supposed to approximate these things. And that's kind of interesting that there's sort of like they're hiring musicians to just be creative and do what they want to do best, as long as it sort of fits the vision of what Konami thinks Beatmania should be.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it sort of extended to like stuff like Guitar Freaks and Drum Mania?
Definitely. And I mean, like a lot of those, like some of those composers hopped from series to series, but there's a ton of composers that did Guitar Freak stuff, and that's all they did.
Yeah. Because
that was what they knew how to do.
I very much like those games with the design in mind that they were making. It wasn't licensed music that they're putting into a game. It was, we're making this for this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Being so proprietary was such a neat idea. More than that, I loved that it wasn't shoehorned into like, hey, what is this song supposed to be? Like, oh, I heard, like that it's this band, so therefore it's going to be this. This song is called Time Traveler. And then it's just like some crazy rock song with like these dogs in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Music video. It didn't make any sense, but it was super cool. Power Dunker 20XX or something. There was so many cool, like, it was creative, and it was just like unabashedly free. And I think there was such a charm in that. Jet World, what does that mean? I don't know. But there's circus tents that are screaming in the background.
Yep.
Like, it didn't have to make sense. And I like think that Japanese mentality of music design was so appealing to me at the time. And I miss that.
Yeah.
And like Lucky Cat and like all kinds of, a couple that were terrible, but like they weren't like bad production wise. They were just songs I didn't want to listen to.
Right. Because music is subjective. Like you can't, you can kind of know in advance. Like if you're going to buy, Ska Hero,
yeah,
you don't like ska music, then you're not going to have a good time. You might, if the core gameplay mechanic is fun enough, you might be able to get some fun that way. Which is one of the things that I really like about music games is that if you like the songs, you're halfway there. Like if you just want to hear the songs, then the fact that they're in a video game is enough for you. And if you don't like the songs, but the designers make the note charts or the peripherals fun enough to play, then you can learn to like the songs because you like the experience.
Yeah.
So there's really two chances. You get two chances to like something as opposed to like, oh, I tried Xenogears, but I don't really like, anime RPGs.
Yeah.
But, all right. You're not going to like that game then.
Two major strikes are there. Yeah. It was good. Guitar Hero had good enough music to where I remember finding the soundtrack in Japan and buying it and being so excited I could listen to it in my car.
And that series is still going, I think. Like which is kind of weird to think, because you'd think that like things like Guitar Hero and Rock Band sort of usurped it. And I think they added more buttons eventually. Mm-hmm. But
weird because now I guess Guitar Hero they didn't take away one. They added one extra one just in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. What could have happened if Konami would have capitalized on, hey, let's bring this to the West and see what happens.
One of the weirdest things to me about this, I don't know if you know this, but the only real way you could get a Guitar Freaks controller in America, you could either import one of the Japanese ones, which were so expensive because Konami like quickly bailed on the home versions of Guitar Freaks and Drum Mania for reasons I don't fully understand. But they did like 3 or 4 of them, and then they're like, nah, we're done. Like, we're going to keep making arcade games, but who cares about the PS2?
Yeah.
And so a company was making knockoff controllers, Red Octane, who wound up being one of the producers of Guitar Hero. And Red Octane's Guitar Freaks controllers they had 5 buttons, but the 2 extra buttons, to my knowledge, didn't do anything. They were just sort of there. Like, we're going to make a 5-button guitar controller on the off chance that there's another game later down the line that, maybe we'll use 5 buttons. Like, it's so prophetic on their part.
Yeah, that's right.
The thing that really, really bugs me about this, and I hate it. is that if you use a Red Octane Guitar Hero controller and plug it in to play Guitar Freaks with it, the button layout is wrong.
Happened.
Instead of the top 3 frets, it's the top fret, the middle fret, and the bottom fret. So you don't get like that close playing experience. You have to like stretch out really far to play what is essentially a 3-button game.
Weird. So that way, maybe that was their plan to say buy Guitar Hero instead.
Yeah, or maybe it was their way to say, like, hey, do you like Guitar Hero? Well, we also, on the down low, sell this controller or sold this controller for this other game, but you have to buy that one.
Yeah, they didn't want people buying Guitar Hero controllers and then going and playing Guitar Freaks with it.
Yeah. I'm also reading that Working Designs apparently wanted to pick up bringing the Guitar Freaks games to the U.S.
Is this when Ireland was still with them?
I think so.
Because that guy lobbied for everything, and most of it happened.
Yeah. Well, it was PS2 area, so it may have been when he was on the way out.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
But they ran into patent problems with the guitar controller. Which is it's weird.
That's weird. His kid ended up working for Sunsoft.
Yeah.
Because he was the one partially responsible for bringing Blaster Master.
They're cursed.
Yeah. Yeah. He was working on that one. Or no, maybe his son worked at a different company in Vic, Ireland, ended up going over to Sunsoft and like pushing for Blaster Master to come on the Wii. To come on your Wii to like yeah, the Sophia just drives over and just drops a big gooey load and then drives off. Jason just screaming all the way through. If you had to have sexual relations with any vehicle,
tank,
with any tank, yeah,
Metal Slug.
That's a good choice.
Yeah,
those are safe. They clean them before every mission, so they're fully sterile. Okay. So we were talking about with the Guitar Freaks and like the guitar and Drum Mania and Beat Mania and stuff. Yeah, I remember playing Beat Mania. I got it for the Game Boy when I was out in Japan. My very first trip out there back is like in 2000, after I just graduated from high school. And I remember picking it up on the Game Boy. And like obviously, like it's not going to be as good. It's just literally a rhythm game because the music is tiny and the screen is minimal, and like you're just pressing left, up, down, right, and I think A and B. So it had 5 or 6 buttons.
Yeah, but it also had a controller that you could clip on to your Game Boy.
That's right. No, I forgot about that. It totally did. I don't know if mine came with that though, because I bought it used. I don't remember if I had that. So I think I still have the game.
I think I've seen it somewhere in your house too.
I'm gonna check real quick. So I'm actually kind of curious to see if it's in here, because that would be kind of neat just to see it for any reason.
One of the things that I like about what Konami did with the Game Boy games of their, because it's a silly concept, but instead of like making new songs, they just, for the most part, remade like chiptune versions of the music that was already in Beat Mania.
Yeah, they just reorchestrated it, which I like that idea.
They added some new stuff. And one other cool thing that happened later on down the line is that they had Poppin' Music games for the Game Boy Color. I think. I'm pretty sure they did.
I think so too. I would be surprised if they didn't. That's Japan.
And in some of the later PS2 releases, they brought back those Game Boy versions of the songs as unlockables, so that you could play those handheld chiptune-y sounding songs, or the full orchestrated, like full original recording of the music.
I don't know where my Beat Mania is.
Just call out Beat Mania and it'll come.
Like a bird?
Yeah.
See,
like an obedient bird.
So if at this point, if you had to choose a rhythm game that like the one, if you had one rhythm game to take with you
God, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I'm really torn about whether it would be Beatmania or DDR. I think I like Beatmania more, but at the end of the day, like DDR is better for me, and I have a real passion for sharing that game with people. Like if someone wants to get into Beatmania, I'm more than happy to like try and steer them in the right direction and like help them whenever I can. But it's so dense and it's so brutal that people are like quickly like, I just can't do this. Like this, I can't do this. Whereas with DDR, like it's a lot more incremental. You can feel your progress a lot more easily with that game.
That's fair. Yeah. So would you choose? Could you? Supposing you couldn't choose this series. Suppose you had to choose like
just like one version,
one disc, one single contained album, as it were.
Arcade or console?
What? Either one. Up to you. Just literally the one game that you could take with you. And if there's like one DDR that has like 10 different DDR home games in it, cool.
Yeah, there are the arcade versions now. I think the most recent one is just called Dance Dance Revolution. They sort of rebooted for like the 9th time. And the selling point is that it had like 94% of every song that had ever been in a DDR. So I can't verify that. Like I haven't played it, so I don't know. But on paper, that's the one I would pick.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds like that's the way to do it. Like if somebody said, choose your like a one disc to take with you, or like one single cartridge. Mario All Stars is a good bet because you get 4 Mario games. 5
right,
Mario.
Exactly. If you want like Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection,
dude,
you have like a minor Genesis library full of all the classics. Like
precisely. Okay, so you think probably that DDR?
I think I'd probably go with the most recent DDR. Yeah.
Okay. It's a good choice.
Rhythm games. You are a fan of Rhythm Heaven.
I'm very much a fan of Rhythm Heaven. Yeah, I
have a bit of a harder time getting into that game, but I do really like it.
I think it's the WarioWare in it that comes out that I'm just I'm smitten by.
The issue that I have with it, which it makes it unique, like it makes it challenging for me. Whereas I think if it were any other kind of rhythm game, I'd just be like, okay, you just swipe it when it tells you to swipe it or whatever. Because the controls are really simple to that game.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that there's no sort of like visual indication of when you're supposed to do things. You have to very much learn the song and then play it in time with the visual notification that you're getting.
Though, I'm going to tell you something. There's a secret to a lot of these songs. Because there's cues for nearly everything. And I've actually found that in a lot of instances, it's easier for me to not look at the screen when I play many of them. Okay. Because there's going to be enough cues that like there's like a build-up noise that like offsets about like 2 beats. Or there's an instant noise where it's like hit, Q hit, or Q hit. And sometimes every 3rd beat or 4th beat, like there's these weird things, or like they start getting into syncopation, and there's a prompt usually before everything that'll notify you. There's a handful of them that you kind of need visuals for, but for the most part, most songs in that game you can actually do completely without looking. Okay, which is interesting.
It's the same problem that I have with Space Channel 5, which is at its core, it's just a rhythm game. But because there's no visual indication of what you're doing, you just have to do it. Yeah. It gives me trouble. Like if I'm not like practiced in it and like fresh and know the timing and what the windows are in that game, I botch it really badly.
Yeah, and now you gotta sort of get into the rhythm.
Space Channel 5 broke my spirit.
Did it when you rescued Space Michael and then he died?
Spoilers, Jesus.
Well, he died like 8 years later IRL, but
right, yeah, it was unrelated to his.
That's still spoilers. Anybody who's still like in 2000 right now.
I 100%ed Space Channel 5 once, almost, because it gives you constantly have your completion percentage. Yeah. If you ever miss a note, your percentage goes down, and it can only go up so far based on how well you play the game. Sure. I beat the last boss. I had 100%. The credits were rolling. I was like, I did it. I'm the best. Space Channel 5. Yeah. And at the end of the credits in that game, the little icon on the bottom that says like, what the hell are their names? the aliens.
I don't know what they're called.
It just pops up and it says right, and then it flips to the Ulala icon, and my controller is like in front of me, like 4 feet away, and I'm just like, no, and it just goes 99%. Because I missed it because I was like, I did it. Like I put it. It was 7 a.m. I stayed up all night to 100% Space Channel 5, and I was like, oh, I can just go to bed as soon as this saves.
Oh, King K. Rool, man.
Yeah.
Is that the first game I can think of that like the last boss isn't really the last boss? Like you won, but you didn't win.
Yeah, I think so.
That was the first one I remember because I was totally taken off guard.
I mean, there's things like with Final Forms and whatnot before that,
Right.
but that was the first game. I was like, look at these credits. You're the best.
Yeah, you think you're doing good. Yeah. Okay. Well, damn. I'm proud of you, boy.
Yeah, but I never got that 100%.
I don't blame you. I would be crushed. Be broken at that point.
Yeah.
What do you think the hardest rhythm game is?
I'm really tempted to say Mad Maestro for me. I know a lot of people that are like, "Oh, that game's easy. It's no problem." But it took me like months because the whole game is predicated not so much on like timing and button presses, but it is one of the only. I think it's one of 2 games I can think of that actually makes use of the analog buttons on the DualShock 2.
Oh, true. And the travel on them is so minuscule.
It's so small.
Yeah,
when you can play easy mode, which is just like hitting it in time, but you don't get anything for doing that. Normal mode, there's 3 sensitivities where it's like a soft hit, a normal hit, and a hard hit. And to me, a hard hit is how I normally push a button.
Yeah.
So it's like really difficult for me to do the other 2. You beat it on normal and you unlock expert mode or like Maestro mode or something, where it has 8 different timing windows or 8 different pressure windows.
That's too much. That's way too much for a game that like doesn't. If it were like the triggers,
Yeah, that I could do.
yeah.
No, it's the buttons. It's the face buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's like something that's just like so insurmountably difficult that I just don't want to. Beatmania gets really hard. Pop music gets really hard. Hell, DDR gets really hard. In the Groove gets really, really hard. In a lot of ways, I want to say something like from a purely playing standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm tempted to say something like Karaoke Revolution. Because if you can't sing, if you can't hold a pitch, you can't play that game.
That's true.
You have to actually have at least a small affinity for being able to sing. Like I know a guy who, I don't know if he just does it on purpose and he's just really good at lying about it. But I've heard him sing like in the car and he's really bad at it. And he admits it. He's like, I don't have, like the way he talks is very sort of monotone. And so when he sings a song that he likes, it just comes out sounding really not good. And I've seen him play Karaoke Revolution and the game just doesn't know what to do with him. Like the arrow is either at the top or at the bottom and it just stays there. And it never moves.
That's it.
So he's just like physically incapable of playing that game. Which is a sad thing to think about. If you can sing, the game is super easy. If you can't sing, it's impossible. You can't do it.
What about like a Keyboard Mania?
Keyboard Mania is really cool. I don't think it's as hard as even like Beat Mania, for example. It's really strange. I think the fact that there's so much more real estate on the buttons and the fact that there's a parallel real world instrument that plays
That's true.
much the same.
So for somebody starting off, because like if you're not like musically inclined on a keyboard, like with an instrument, you can still have a good sense of rhythm and a good sense of like, you know, button pressing.
Yeah.
So B-Mania is not necessarily like a bad like entry level spot for somebody who like wants to play a rhythm music game.
Mm-hmm.
Keyboard Mania for somebody who's never touched anything like that might be infinitely more daunting.
Yes.
However, the parallel is that like if you play the keyboard or piano, that's a very different type of reading.
It is.
You know?
It is.
And that's tricky. Training yourself how to read a keyboard coming from that perspective.
I would even say, you know, Rock Band drums or Drum Mania drums can be so challenging if you don't have any percussive practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like those charts are really tough.
Yeah.
So those can be really difficult. Music games, to me, there's 2 kinds. There's hand-holdy, you know, sort of like fun-focused ones. which are great unless you want to get into music games, and then once you do, they've just become instantly not fun. Like Donkey Konga and Taiko no Tatsujin and even like Rock Band 4, I had a really hard time kind of getting into that because they dumbed it down. And Rock Band was kind of on the fringe for me anyways. Like the drumming was really fun for me and the singing was really fun. But they took that sort of marked approach to where like, we're not going to do Through the Fire and Flames. You know, we're going to take it easy on the other instruments and not really push the difficulty of this title, which is a great approach for a party game.
Sure.
But it left me kind of unfulfilled in a lot of ways. Like I loved Rock Band for the DLC, the fact that I could just get so many songs that I loved,
right,
perform them in a way that I was comfortable doing. But I would never like sit down with Rock Band over Guitar Hero and say, all right, today I'm going to push myself to go for a full combo. Like it's a lot easier to pull off in a game like Rock Band.
Yeah, that's true. So then we also have games like Theater Rhythm.
Yes.
Which is it's nice to have like a music game that's come out that has an extremely unique feel, but it also represents the series that it's.
Yeah, it's great fan service, but it's also a well-designed rhythm game. Like the fact that there's 3 different control schemes, and above that, like what really hits that home for me is the fact that there's 3 different control schemes, and the game treats them so separately that you can effectively play through the game 3 different ways and track your scores 3 different ways.
There's a lot of playing if that's what it came down to. That's a lot of content.
Yeah, with DLC, like pages and pages of DLC songs that are unfortunately they're expensive. But I think the only reason people feel that they're expensive is because it's a portable.
Yeah.
I mean, we pay $2 per song on Rock Band and no one bats an eye.
Yeah, but $1 per song.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I don't want to pay $1 for like a Final Fantasy battle song. Like,
but then it gives you like a custom background, and then like it's got, it gets you experience points to go through, and 3 different difficulties that all feel different, plus the control schemes, like you said.
Yeah. It's a lot of content.
It's interesting what the perception is. What do you as far as the gameplay goes? Because I mean, there's the touchscreen tap mode, which I personally prefer out of all of them. I feel like that's the most responsive for me in the way I play, because I played the first one a lot. I actually have I
want to point out right now that I didn't hit a single Powerball number. Everyone's going crazy about. Do you know about this? That everyone's going like Powerball nuts right now,
or something like that.
500 million jackpot. Yeah, I didn't hit a single friggin' number.
Oh, neither I didn't buy one, so I hit even less than you.
Yeah, no, we hit the same amount.
That's true. Which I didn't even have numbers, but it's fair. They're all the same.
Yeah.
What do you have no? You're fine. Do you have a control scheme that you prefer when it comes to Theater Rhythm?
Well, you taught me how to play the game, and so I gravitate. And I have a lot of friends that play this game now. I'm the only one that does stylus only among them.
Okay, I have to do stylus. Like it's honestly,
it feels so natural.
It does. It feels very good swiping and like the timing of your hand actually tapping.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Very intuitive.
I haven't really messed around with the other 2 control schemes because I really wanted to go through everything with the stylus first.
Yeah.
Which is going to take a long time, but...
are you trying to like actually full like chart every single song?
Full ultimate clear everything.
Are you trying to do like a triple S everything?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's a game that feels worthwhile.
Yeah, and I know like people who aren't great at Beatmania and aren't like... They're good at DDR, but they're not, amazing at it. But they can triple S songs on Theater Rhythm. And like, they're like, oh, it's only on basic. And I'm like, that's not the point. Like the point is that you mastered that chart.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah. The way it quantifies your progress in that game is super satisfying. And the fact that like literally every time you beat a song, it rewards you.
Yeah.
It's very good. That's one of those games that like it feels worthwhile completing it, and it's not daunting because you can do it one song at a time, and it's always genuine progress.
Yeah. Frequency and amplitude are a lot of fun. And I like those games too because of their robust remixing mode. Like it sort of combines the awesome like feature of being able to edit note charts, which is always welcome in my opinion, with having audio changes to the songs as well. Like when you in Frequency, I played through the game really quickly, and we battled for scores for a little while. And then the cool thing about Frequency is that it supported the PlayStation multi-tap, and you could create charts with other people co-op. So because you can only be on one track at a time, it would just split screen the board or play it normally, and I could be working on a guitar loop on one section while someone else could be doing the drums or like a synth.
Mhm.
And you're sort of building the song in real time and saying like, all right, I'm going to get the bass. Like, oh, I like what you did with that drum loop. Let me see what I can do with this vocal effects here.
Mhm.
And you could create like some really cool audio sounding remixes that were also fun to play.
Yeah, yeah. Anything that sort of like communally offers participation, especially creatively, is really cool.
Yeah.
Very few games do that, actually. That's pretty sweet. Not bad, man. Not bad. Not Batman.
Not Batman. Batman is a terrible music game.
But yeah. So if you could take any franchise and turn it into like the music game of your choice, like what would you want to do? And we'll say series. That way you're allowed to say I want a Metroid music game or I want a Castlevania music game.
Castlevania music game would be really good. I would really like to see something like I'd like to play something like a Gradius with Gradius music.
That'd be interesting.
But that was a rhythm game that functioned like a shoot 'em up, basically.
Okay.
So by you playing the game correctly, the song would play correctly.
Like you'd shoot the say that wave of 5 enemies, the last one always drops like the red power up. You hit them 5 times with like the proper bullet rhythm, and then boom, they drop the thing. You get the power up, and you keep going. Get to the boss, up, down, 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 right, or whatever to dodge his bullet correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a phenomenal idea. You're a good man. I want that now.
Okay, well, I'm working on it. It's gonna be out. It'll be out.
It's really good.
It's a launch title for the new Coleco Phantom.
Right. What's happening?
I don't know.
What was happening?
ColecoVision has a new console made out of Atari Jaguar parts. Like, why? Why do we live in this world? It's almost as if no one respects the sins of the fathers.
Yeah, this is a bizarro like video game dimension. Yeah, that's weird. To someone, it's probably cool. I guess the guys making it, I think it's pretty cool.
I like the idea, but like, what I really hate about this idea, and I think it's a mistake on their part, and maybe it's just me, I don't know.
Sure.
But as a collector, as someone who would be like, yeah, someday I would want to own a Coleco Phantom. Like, I like the idea that there's a new Coleco system. But I would be really angry to be like, oh, let me put this game into my Jaguar. No, that's the Phantom.
That's true. Well, you have to keep the Jaguar in a separate room.
Oh, do they fight?
Yeah, they cross-contaminate the cartridges.
Oh, no. And then I get Trevor McFur and all of my new Phantom games.
Yeah, exactly. It'll load it up. It'll like delete the BIOS. It recognizes it. Yeah, it's really, really weird. It's a neat idea that they're repurposing it, but it's strange to like announce something that exists for the sake of like current collectability. Like you're releasing something saying, this is going to be a collectible, weird kind of limited thing that's not going to have an infinite lifespan. So literally, you're collecting something right now because we said to collect it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of their marketing communication is very misleading too, because they make it sound like they call it a retro game console. So you think it's like, oh, it's like a Retron or a Retro Duo, and it's not at all. It only plays Coleco Phantom games.
Yeah, which are going to be, from what I understand, a lot of older games just re-released on this new system.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of indie games that are sort of meant to emulate that.
Yeah.
Also, I've been calling it the Coleco Phantom, and I don't think that's its name at all.
I don't know what it's called. Jaguar.
Coleco console. The Coleco Chameleon.
Chameleon?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh, it's so ugly.
Yeah, yeah. They chose one of the worst looking systems.
They took the Jaguar and they made it look worse. Like, how do you do that?
If you had to choose one of those old systems to re-release with a modified visual style, what would you choose? So you could say, I'm going to make the Game Gear like this new.
The new
console.
game, yeah.
Like, it's not called the Game Gear. It was, the Trip Hawkins, Bird of Prey or whatever.
I think there's a certain kind of sleekness to a couple of the 3DO models.
Okay.
I think it's the Gold Star 3DO. No, that one just looks like a fat VCR.
A lot of stuff in that era did.
Yeah. What's the one? Is it the FZ1 I'm thinking of, maybe?
The Laserdisc player.
No, that's the one I have, FC10. Yeah, there we go. The FC10, it kind of, I'll send you a link right now. It kind of looks like the Neo Geo or like a TurboGrafx CD system. It's got this very sort of like thin, sleek look to it. I sent you the link through Facebook. That I think if people saw those and thought of the 3D, I think it'd have a little more going for it. But with the exception of that controller, because I don't like the dot buttons for the start and select and the bottom there. That's really weird.
Right. Let's see. So to anybody who wants to see, this is sort of what we have going on. Is that.
And plus, it's got a flip drive and like a flip tray instead of a slide out tray. Which God, why do we still use anything with a slide out tray?
I don't know. Though, what's your? They should repurpose the third generation PS3s.
Oh,
those things look
the
like
weird Foreman grills.
Like my first CD player.
I was at GameStop last week, and they have a bunch of them on sale, like every variant you can think of. And it took me a second because I was looking at them, and I'm like, "Are these some kind of weird PS4s that are on sale? Like, why do they have 30 of them in this glass case?" And this is just no, they're trying to dump these super slims because nobody wants them.
No, that didn't work out. It's interesting that the third iterations, like, because even like the Xbox 360 Model E, I guess is what they're called. I've seen like one get traded in ever at the store that I'm aware of, and I don't know anybody who's bought one. Like, you know, and I don't know what their run was on those. And same with like the third gen PS3s. But
I know that a lot of people like the Game Boy Micro.
And the Micro is interesting because like it's sort of its own thing in terms of, hey, here's only a Game Boy Advance, but like this is like a slick kind of like this is the slick rig, right?
Yeah.
But like the PS3 has all the functionality. It's just it came out at a weird time. When did the Micro come out? Like 2006?
Yeah, I think so. 5 or 6.
Probably about 2000, maybe late 2005, early 2006, something like that. So the Game Boy Advance had been out since what, 2001? Okay. So a 5-year spread, every say 2 years, like a new model gets released. 2.5 years, a new model gets released. The PS3 and the 360, because the Super Nintendo had 2 iterations, even the Genesis had 3 iterations, but
yeah, and that's its own story. There's so much jacked up with those things.
Yeah. Has Nintendo ever had a third iteration of a system? I think
like a console. I don't think so because
just the handheld, just the
Wii Mini was the first console redesign since the SNES Model 2.
That's right. 64 was only like they had Pikachus and stuff that are still fundamentally the same.
Yeah.
And then of course Game Boys and DSs had several different. The DS progression was interesting.
It was, and I was thinking about this the other day and how frustrating it is because there's the whole like Wii U naming issue. And the DS is just as bad. Like, you go from the DS to the DS Lite, and that's the same thing. But then the DSi supports things that the other two don't support. So then you would think, like, well, what does the DS Lite do? Nothing. It's brighter.
It's a smaller DS.
Yeah. And then you've got, like, the 3DS and the 2DS, and those are the same things except for the obvious 3D, 2D thing. Then you've got the new 3DS, which is functionally different from the other two. Like they keep making these half-step iterations that are just really confusing to I think the average consumer.
Yeah, it's a very interesting build that they have, and unfortunately, I don't know what their name. In Japan, it might make more sense for them to do this kind of crap, but out here, it's arguably the most illogical thing.
Like I bought a DS game, and I'm pretty sure it might be DSi only, which I think the 3DS can handle. I think.
Is it white?
Is it white? Like the cartridge?
White.
I haven't opened it yet.
Any game that has like that is exclusive to DSi has a white cartridge, but there's like 2 of them.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple. There was like that weird alien shooting one.
Yeah.
So I know like that one on the front it very clearly states, you need the DSi to play this.
Type for that one. Okay.
and I bought this game because it was $3, and I just wanted to get like a game for every system that I could at Hastings that day.
Right.
And I got it home, and I'm looking at the back of it, and it's like, oh, use your camera to figure out. And I was like, wait a minute, did I buy a DSi game and I just didn't even realize it?
Yeah, that's weird. Because they don't make that apparent at all. Very strange.
Oh, Daniel X Ultimate Power is the game that I bought.
Daniel X.
Daniel X.
Okay. Yeah, the exclusivity thing was really, really strange. It's interesting to see like how they were able to get away with it for so long as well too. But yeah, in recent years, and I wonder how the new president of Nintendo is going to be handling naming convention from this point on, because hopefully they don't do anything like that. I mean, NX obviously as a code name is just going to be something different, but
yeah,
you know,
and someone will no doubt the second they change it be like, oh, fucking Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, absolutely. What I was thinking of as well too was that the Genesis 3 is an
not made by Sega.
Right.
Made by Majesco.
Majesco, okay. So Majesco made the Genesis 3. Super Nintendo has the Wii Mini, or which we call it as Model 2.
Yeah.
Or Slim, I don't know. Xbox 360, Xbox 360 Slim, and then E. So the naming convention for that wasn't so hot. I mean, it's not like a new system, so it's not as consequential.
Yeah.
Or Super Slim, as we refer to it, because I didn't know for a long time what the official title was. So searching for parts for it, like the AC adapters, was not pleasant.
Yeah.
PS3, we can only say like a third gen PS3, you know?
They called it the Super Slim, I think, is the actual.
Did they?
Yeah, the PS3 is the one that uses there's the PS3, the Slim PS3, and then the Super Slim PS3.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
But I think that's the GameStop. If you look it up on GameStop.com, they refer to it as the Super Slim.
Okay, so they have like their own naming convention. Whether it's Sony's or not, that's one thing. But GameStop uses that, and that sort of officially becomes like pseudo canon in the world if there's no other actual naming convention.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Releasing small versions of systems is interesting because the problem that I had, I think, with the PS3 Super Slim is that it wasn't really smaller.
Yeah, it was
probably way cheaper to make, and that was it. And
it does have a not sort of push the disc in sort of tray, which is cooler than the actual slide out tray.
Yeah.
But I've had enough of I've had so many people's car stereos where it just eats CDs eventually because the motor gets too weak. I'm terrified of that.
I don't know. I don't like it either.
So I like that the PS3 the Super Slim PS3 doesn't have that, but it does look like a Foreman grill, a subwoofer, and like a space heater had a baby.
Yeah, it's very light on plastic. It's a weird design. Do you think the Wii U is going to get a Super Slim? Do you think they're going to announce a Wii U Super Slim at E3 when they announce the NX?
God, I don't want them to do that. It's a good size.
I don't think they will. I think at this point, like the Wii is probably like they're focusing on what they're going to do with their future, and I think the Wii will just sort of do its own thing. I guess in a couple of years, they might announce like a Wii U Mini.
Yeah,
that might be a couple of years out when they're sort of like starting to downsize stock. But at least Nintendo had a decent holiday with it. 3DS sales still going strong, but the Wii U did decently well. PS3 is killing it right now, or PS4, sorry.
Yeah, PS4 is doing. I think I just saw the numbers on that.
Yeah, they're probably 50 million after this holiday.
Yeah.
Nuts. That's pretty good. I don't know. But up your butt.
I don't like that.
You will.
Okay.
You will.
I'm ready. I'm ready to like it.
You're right. It's going to be all right. Don't worry.
36 million. They sold 5.7 million this holiday alone.
Okay. It's a lot.
And Microsoft had a record-breaking season, too.
Good. Been a good season for everybody. I actually thought it was going to be sort of on a decline, actually, this year.
Most people logged into Xbox Live than any other day in the history of Xbox on December 28th.
Weird for what game?
Didn't say. I think just like logged into Xbox Live.
Weird.
Number of hours spent gaming across One and 360 during Christmas week were up compared to last year. They didn't share any console sales numbers, but they said that the One remains ahead of where the 360 was in terms of unit sales at the same point in time.
Okay.
And all of its first-party holiday games sold over 1 million copies. So Halo 5, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Forza 6, and Gears of War Ultimate Edition all broke 1 million copies.
Oh, well, good. Good for them. Rise of the Tomb Raider comes out on the PC, I believe, the 26th of January.
I believe that is correct, yeah.
Very excellent game. In fact, I have to go finish it because I'm in the middle of playing it. It's excellent.
Yeah, it looks really fun. It seems a little on the short side, but...
Which for me is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably going to be shorter than the first one, which might or might not be something people are looking for. I like it. Also, I picked up Transformers Devastation. Deal this holiday. Literally like playing Bayonetta with giant robots. I was playing, jumping around and shooting things and punching them. I was like, this is pretty cool. And then they didn't have like a dodge mechanic until like they said, well, it's rematched to this other button, and then it says when you dodge, things go into slow motion. So I dodged, the screen turned purple, and then everything was in slow motion. I was like, yeah, this is straight just Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Which is good for me, by the way.
I was watching Star Wars last weekend, The Force Awakens.
Oh, yes.
And it called to mind, there's no spoilers ahead, by the way, just so you guys know. Because I will say that like I was watching spaceships fight each other.
Yeah.
Should not be a spoiler. But it made me think about Ace Combat.
Okay.
And how I think those games are really underrated because they're really fun. And they present, I think, with video games, it's obviously great to innovate. It's great to have new ideas and new things to do. But there's always been this sort of like core half dozen to dozen experiences that everyone sort of wants to live vicariously through a game. You want to be a sports star. You want to drive a fast car. You want to rhyme goals. You want to be in like a cool dog fight. You want to go on an adventure with your friends.
You want to play A Dog's Life, and like the groove was in it.
Oh no!
Oh, dang it!
Sorry. Well, I want to play the Dog Island for the Wii.
Right.
But like these are things that when they're done well, and that doesn't necessarily mean like that they're going to be 10 out of 10 games. But if these sort of core experiences are done well, like some people might think it's very boring, but I feel like Ace Combat really nails that sort of like cool dogfight. It's not bulky simulator. It's not like a million buttons. You can do it with 4 or 5 buttons, and it's fast paced, and it feels good when you get a hit. And it's the same reason that I really enjoy Rocket League compared to say like Madden. Where Madden is a representation of a sport that I really like, and FIFA is closer to Rocket League than Madden is. But at the end of the day, you're still kind of approximating. You've got buttons mapped to functions that a human body would do. Whereas with Rocket League, when you hit the ball and it does something incredible and lands in the goal, you're overwhelmed with the sense of like, that was me. Yeah. I did that. That was my choice.
Yeah.
And those core experiences, I think, are so important to what makes games fun. Like we've talked about it very recently, like how we both love racing games. That sense of speed and that sense of control when it's just right, and it's not overly complicated, but it's not simple, and it accurately conveys like, oh, I nailed that turn so perfect, and I passed that guy. Like it feels so incredible.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I think in a way, when technology wasn't there, we still had that. We would play games like Off-Road or Afterburner and be like, oh, like that's incredible. But I thought of like Ninja Gaiden. And Ninja Gaiden doesn't really fit that bill, but in a way it does now because people our age and people younger than us and everyone really is playing these retro-styled games or actual retro games that are very challenging, and the feeling that you're supposed to get out of that is that sort of speed-runny, flawless execution, pixel-perfect jumping, sort of like, oh, I beat that level without losing any health. And that sort of has the same real-world an allegory that making a cool goal in a FIFA game or getting a new lap time in a Ferrari Enzo in a racing game would accomplish.
It's like this momentum that just sort of like propels you to keep you getting better and better, and you feel like it's tangible and quantifiable, like on like a word that I can't think of. It builds, and you can see and you can feel it. Rusty's Real Deal Baseball
Ooh.
is one of those games that like it's frustrating and there's not really much to it, but it feels so good just to sit there and like hit baseballs correctly.
Yeah.
Your timing is perfect when you like hit like that golden shot and like you feel the crack of the bat and like it just your ball flies farther. You're like, that's what I want. That's what I want in a game. And if you can find your rhythm, the game allows that as well too. But yeah, no, I think you're completely right.
It's a sort of pure translation of like, and again, these games are usually not rated as like 10 out of 10 must play games. They usually get like average to low end marks.
Sure.
But that translation of I want to do this thing and now I can do this thing is such this like conditioned rewarding response.
Achieve the glow.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of like weird like German word for this, like Scheissenwasser or something.
Yeah.
You know?
There probably is.
Shit water is actually what it's supposed to. But yeah, like I think there's some sort of term for people who sort of hit that stride, and when video games can pull that out of you as well too. I wonder if there's like actually like a psychological term for hitting that, you know, because there's terms now for when you think you hear the Xbox Live achievement noise when you haven't heard it, or you think your phone goes off in your pocket and it hasn't.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I feel for this there has to be some sort of word or description comparison.
Like a game like Katamari, for example, because I'm looking at it right now. You don't really get like it's a cool game, and you can tell people like, oh, it's really fun, it's really kitschy, like I think you'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not. Some people probably do, and great for them. Like I'm really happy for them. I'm not just being sarcastically dismissing that. But you don't play a Katamari game like, oh yeah, I totally rolled like the most spherical ball of states, of U.S. states.
Yeah. And it's weird because like you're describing games that have sort of almost like a competitive edge to them, whether it's a racing game and like you're just hitting every turn correctly, or you're playing Rocket League and you just nail that goal because like you're in that sort of flow. But I even find games like Phoenix Wright has had moments of feeling that kind of like, you know, when all the clues make sense in your head and then they present all the evidence, you go, well, this has to be it. And the moment you press it, the music stops and he slams the desk and you go, I nailed it. And it feels phenomenal.
Phoenix Wright is so good at that. And it's a big part of it. I don't know whose decision it was, but stopping the music when you get something right creates this moment of tension where you're just like, the second you're like, all right, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, this is my theory. I'm going to put it out there. And the music stops, just like,
it's like you're a god.
Yeah.
Moment.
It's so satisfying and so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's like you were watching me play Out of This World on stream today. And the inverse of that is that Out of This World doesn't really reward you in the same way, right? It doesn't reward you in that way at all. You just sort of, oh, I'm off this screen and now I'm on the next screen. You don't know when you unlock a new password. You don't know when you've reached a part where you're no longer in danger. Like, I think about the difference between PS1 RPGs and modern day RPGs. And a lot of people will say like, oh, it's not as good, like whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I don't buy into that for 1 second. I've had people tell me that like the games aren't as good, that Japan's got its head up its own ass, or that like that the protagonists are too young and the players are too old and they can't relate to teenage problems anymore. And I think it's not any of that. I think if anything, it's this sort of, we used to get a reward. You used to beat a boss fight and you get a cool cutscene for 30 seconds. And that was like, oh, I got it. Like, I want to watch this cool movie now.
Yeah, that was the dessert that you got for beating it, was getting to see like a graphical enhancement temporarily that you've earned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that no longer exists.
No.
The technology, for the powers that be decided that the games should just look the same the whole way through. And certainly it would be really difficult to take a game like Final Fantasy 15 and say, but in these sections we made it look better.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
true. It doesn't look better. However, that's a game that did actually bring back the sense of satisfaction in the one regard where it's like, I'm excited to see what this next summon is.
Yes.
Right? And so like when I suddenly saw that, I was like, oh my God, like I have the feeling of when I first played Final Fantasy 7 for the first time, summoned Leviathan, he comes out and dumps water everywhere, and that, you know, looks rudimentary by today's standards, but at the time that was it. That was the number one. And
we were used to seeing like a picture of the monster come out and do this, and then like a blue screen would appear.
Exactly. And so when you saw that first 3D, it was a cinematic in the middle of your game. It was a cinematic that played. You halted the action. You could take a deep breath. You could be like, "Oh my god, this monster's going to come out, show me a cutscene, and then kill some soldiers." And that Ramu in Final Fantasy 15 gave me the same kind of like, "Oh, I can take a quick second because I know this is not only going to look amazing, but like it's going to be super beneficial. So like the reward is almost doubled."
Yeah,
I hadn't felt that in a long time. 13 didn't do it. Even 12 like wasn't as satisfying on that level. I really enjoyed it, but 13 didn't really offer that, and I hadn't played a game that had given me the same kind of reward since then. It's been a very long time. But you're right. We used to record all the cutscenes from like Final Fantasy 7, 9 on VHS. So you could go back and watch them. So it was like, this is the good stuff. This is the dessert that I've earned.
I had friends with 7 and 9 specifically who would have full memory cards. They would play through the game once, and then they would save the second time through, and they would make a new save every time a cutscene was coming up.
I didn't do that to quite that extent, but with Final Fantasy VIII, I remember doing it right at the end of Disc 2 when the gardens are battling, and always keeping a save spot there so I could watch that entire sequence and then do that whenever I wanted. And it was always just, like, that was my go-to.
I think that's just a pivot. It's so hard to nail, though. Like it's so ephemeral, and you can't plan for it. But I think if you're playing the game you're developing, when you create something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you can see the other people around you going like, "Oh, I got to do that again. Like I got to try that one more time."
Yeah, you somehow hit that stride internally, and everybody just goes, "Dude, like we felt it," Like,
yeah,
it just came together, right? You nailed it.
If someone's watching you and they like are inclined to cheer for you, whether it's on your couch, on a stream, whatever. If they're watching your video on YouTube and like, oh, like they have a reaction to something they're not even in control of.
Yeah,
that's what. Because those sort of core experiences, like flying a plane, driving a car, doing a cool backflip to avoid a bullet, or whatever, like these things that are sort of like very ingrained sort of power fantasies that people have. When you emulate that, that's how we learn that we want those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who want to drive fast cars it's not because their dad owned a Lamborghini. It's because they saw like a movie or they saw like a TV show where someone, drifted around a corner with ultimate precision and just like hit their stride. And you're just like, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I want to do that. And so when you get that sort of, okay, this was my chance to do that. And whether it's very basic, whether it's Outrun or Forza, if your controls allow for that feeling and your game design allows for that feeling, you come back to that.
Yeah.
Even if you've mastered the game, you're like, well, I want to do it perfectly again.
Yeah. It's like learning an instrument. It's like, learning like a trade, some sort of skill where whatever is now in your hands that's not part of you eventually maintains a part of you, because by extension, you're in full control. I can move my fingers however I want, whenever I want. So when it gets to the point that whatever's in my hand, I can control with that kind of precision and accuracy, that satisfaction is unparalleled. Like professional Smash Brothers players, like watching some of those guys play blows my mind. I'm good at the game, but I'm not nearly that good.
Mm-hmm.
So like my go-to game is F-Zero GX, because that's a game that I feel I've put enough time into where I pick my car, I change my settings, and that's my extra set of hands. My fingers are elongated into this controller, and now whatever I'm doing is 100% like that's the extension of me in the game.
Yeah, and if you make a perfect turn, if you land like a jump shortcut that you really like to hit, if you line up and sideswipe your rival off the edge of a course, like all of those things in that game are just like so internally fulfilling.
All the time. What's your go-to game, like whenever you're just like, I just need to feel like I am the master of this? What is the one game you go to?
Even though I'm not good at it, I would probably go with Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer 6 or Outrun 2. Because they're very arcade style, loose control, really drifty games. But and Beat Mania, a lot of times I'll do that too, but there's so much room in Beat Mania of things that I can't do that it's also humbling at the very same time, where it's like I can do this really well, I can't do these things. But just sort of the idea, like I think racing games for me just nail that that feeling so well. Fighting games, if I pull off a cool combo or beat someone and skunk them really hard, like that always feels good. But racing games just feel like there's not a lot on the line, but getting like tight turns and driving enough to know like the apex of different courses and like how you want to handle your lines and when you want to shift gears and slide here and then roll the wheel the other direction and slide the other direction out of an S curve or something. It's just really satisfying to me to do that. I also like shmups a lot too for that reason. Like I feel that those are sort of that combination of pattern recognition and execution that if you get good at something like Ikaruga.
Would you say like how about just real quick a shmup versus like a bullet hell, something crazy? Because I find bullet hell is too much for me to concentrate on. But like Ikaruga or something like it's. I
think a lot of it has to do with that freedom, right? Because a bullet hell is sort of designed with the idea that you have one way through this level, and it's your responsibility to find that path. But these bullets are like you may have a couple different options, but these bullets are so prevalent that you can't free roam. Whereas with a game like a Gradius or an R-Type, you can make bad plays for the purpose of sort of like styling on the game.
Sure.
So like I can kill these guys and I can fly up to the front of the screen and I know that these 4 guys are going to appear here and these 4 guys are going to appear here. And I'm just going to be ready for them and give myself the least amount of time to react to them, but I know they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that sort of like power over the game. Whereas a bullet hell is, if you beat it, it's an accomplishment, but the game is always in control.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Yeah, because bullet hell games I respect a lot, but they're too much for me. That's not my jam, unfortunately.
I agree.
I can't remember. Did you play much of Sonic Generations?
Yes, loved it.
Because that game especially rewards kind of like if you can maintain like a certain like physique,
like a oneness.
Yeah, like I mean, you're always like taking the high road. If you take the high road, it's going to open up way more shortcuts and go way faster, and it's not going to stop you at all. But you have to make sure you're on top of maintaining the highest path.
Yeah,
yeah, and then the game rewards you sufficiently, like for not breaking your stride if you can do that. And that satisfaction, man, that's what I want in games. Full combos.
Yep. Full combos. Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or Vanquish or God of War.
Yeah. Yeah. Just any sort of action game, Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, all that stuff just feels so good.
When you're in control of that moment and you're saying like, as long as I keep doing this correctly, the game it's powerless.
Yeah.
I know the pattern. I know I'm going to shoot these 3 guys. I'm going to hit these 4 guys with my sword. I'm going to duck out of the way of this attack and roll to my left so I can hit these 2 guys.
Good. The philosophy of game satisfaction is super interesting to me. I like that it actually sort of took a shift in this direction.
Yeah.
Iwata. And for me, what opened up a lot of like the concept of understanding this was just when he said it feels good to hit a baseball. Like it was the way he presented Rusty's Slugger's Real Deal Baseball or whatever.
Yeah, he started that presentation. You're just like, this is what you wanted to announce?
Yeah,
like a baseball mini game collection.
Yeah, that you pay for the individual events. And I was like, okay, who sold on that? But the way he presented it was like, no, he nailed what it feels like to play a game well and why it feels so good to do it. And this is why you want to buy this game, is because it feels good.
Yeah, and it does. It feels phenomenal.
It does. Achieving the glow. That's how Jason McKenna always used to describe it whenever like you're in that moment. And so that sort of resonated with me. So I'm just going to say that.
That's it.
That's it. Also, something real quick. This right here is a Super Mario Brothers mini soundtrack CD from a little Famicom collection that I got in Japan years ago.
And you're opening it?
It's it's a resealable. I've opened it before. Yeah. I'm gonna open it and then just throw it away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You should let your cats poop in it.
I was probably just gonna put cat poop in here and then shake it up.
Like tape it to one of their butts so they poop through the hole.
It's cool because then there's the cover is the Mario symbol, and the inside's actually like a neat little Famicom, like just two-tone.
Yeah, like a minimalist.
Yeah, which I'm a fan of. And then you pull out the CD, and it's Super Mario the Brother. Little screenshot, black and white, Mario.
Nice.
This is all I ever want, is stuff like
Now, does
this.
that play on a GameCube? Because it looks like it would.
It should. If the GameCube could play music discs. Then you pop it open, index. It's got 16 songs. Overworld background music, winning background music, and hurry up.
Hurry up. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop.
Course Clear, Sheen something or other, underground music. I can't read all this. Anyway, cool little idea. Game data. Here's when it was at release, 9/13/1985. Made by Nintendo. It cost 4,900 yen. That's cool. That's a cool soft. Super Mario Brother. All right. Achieving the glow.
Yeah.
If there's one game that you wish you could just be like crazy proficient at, like that you practice all the time and like it might be harder for you to do, what is one game that like you're still searching to do that with, that you just want that full combo on? You say Beatmania, music game?
Yeah, probably Beatmania. Probably DDR actually over Beatmania, because I actually stunted myself with Beatmania. I would be better at Beatmania if I didn't take the approach that I took to it, which is because I play it one-handed instead of two-handed. And Konami recommends that people play it two-handed, but even the 5-key version. But I took to playing it one-handed because I saw a video of a very popular player at the time who played one-handed. And the reason that I started playing that way is because at the time, I was like one song away from finishing every song that was out on DDR at the time. Like nothing was a challenge for me. And so I was getting into Beatmania, and I thought, like, I want this to last. I don't want to get over this as quickly as I'm in danger of getting over DDR. It didn't work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was like, I'm going to play one-handed. I'm just going to force myself to play everything one-handed. And it made the game very fun for me, and it makes me sort of like a very unique player compared to most people who play the game. But it's weird that I approached the game that way, thinking back on it, that I told myself right from the get-go, I'm going to make this hard on myself. I'm going to make this really challenging for myself. I don't think a lot of people would do that.
There's something kind of fun about that. I understand like the idea of challenging yourself because you're like, here's the parameter I could, stay within, but like if it's harder to do this, maybe I should teach myself this. I've done that with games before.
Yeah, I used to be bored as a kid, and I'd be like, today I'm going to see how far I can make it into Mike Tyson's Punch-Out while sitting upside down on the couch, and the blood is rushing to my head, and I have to translate all the controls like backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do it, and I would make it to like Great Tiger, and be like, all right, that was fun.
Good.
But yeah, probably like a music game or a fighting game. Like I think it'd be really good to be like, I think it'd be so awesome to just be like very good at Street Fighter.
Yeah.
I think that'd be like a really cool trait to have. But at the same time, I think about a lot of games like, I played a lot of Counter-Strike. But if I was very good at Counter-Strike, I probably wouldn't play it that often. Because I don't enjoy the community. And I don't necessarily enjoy I have a hard time being better than people in most games.
Mm-hmm.
Music games and fighting games are kind of the exception, where, if someone comes over and they're like, oh, you have a lot of games. And I'm like, yeah, do you want to play something? And they're like, yeah, we should play a game together. Mm-hmm. And my first thought is always kind of like,
Yeah.
So when they're like, oh, you have Double Dash? Let's play Double Dash. And it's like, all right, well, I'll give it like a 70% effort job and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of games where I don't really enjoy being better than people at, but something like fighting games and music games and maybe racing games, even though I don't play them as much, I'm always impressed. Like I took Ridge Racer 6 online when I was playing that a lot. And I thought I was pretty good at the game. The game was not giving me much resistance. Mm-hmm. But then you go online and you play against Europeans and people and Japanese players who eat, sleep, and breathe Ridge Racer. Mm-hmm. And they're just somehow faster than me. I don't understand it, but they're just faster than me.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Completely. I think with fighting games, though, there's something really nice about, like, when you're playing against somebody, you're training them to have to get better.
Yeah.
Like there's certain games that don't really like that leniency, or like a co-op game, you're sort of like just dealing with,
Right. I can't play Little Big Planet with other people.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had as a game player.
Right. No, it's very, very hard. But with a fighting game or something like directly competitive, it's good because your fighting games better than racing games. I think. For
Yeah,
somebody like Smash Brothers or Virtua Fighter or
the things that you do are very direct and deliberate, and it's very easy to have a dialogue and say, the reason why this works is because you did this, or when I do this, you should do this.
right. There's much faster response. I agree. Whereas with Mario Kart, which is a terrible way to gauge anything, it's basically like, well, I had this item that happened to show up.
Yeah, I rolled a die, I got a 6.
Yeah,
So
sometimes that's all there is to it. So, but yeah, I completely understand. It's fun playing Yoshi's Woolly World with Juanita because we have this really interesting play style where she's sort of unaware of like what's happening that's not her. And this is like you've probably played like New Super Mario Brothers 4-player, and it's everybody looking at only themselves. And then I'm trying to look at the bigger picture, and it's really difficult because I'm seeing everybody everywhere wondering what they're doing, and they're focusing on them, and I'm trying to focus on the screen. And I'm not like sitting here like, these guys suck and I'm just so much better. But this is how a lot of people play. But that's only because this is also how I've been trained to play for a very long time. So if I'm playing a 4-player game with somebody who's not used to that, then yeah, their focus is going to be just the immediacy.
yeah.
If that's even a word. I don't like that I just did
It
that.
is, yeah, I think that's a word.
Okay.
I had a really interesting experience the first date that I had with Erin. We played through Donkey Kong Country 2 in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started the day, I was blown away. She knew about secrets that I'd never seen before. She was just like confident and burning through the game as fast, if not faster than I was. And I was like, wow, I'm so like, this is incredible. I never thought in a million years, I would not have expected this.
Yeah.
Not because she's a girl gamer.
Right.
I'm used to that. I've sandbagged on people since my stepdad would want to play games with me. Like, but then as we hit like level 4, we sort of balanced out. And then when we hit World 5, she would just run into constant deaths. And I sort of had to carry the team from that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was interesting that, like, as the game got harder, her direct knowledge of Donkey Kong Country 2 sort of trickled away, and my more rounded, like, full-time game experience was able to be like, okay, well, I messed up that part, but I can pick that up next time. Like, I got this.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So there's a lot of variance with playing with other people, and I feel bad because my gut reaction is always just be like, well, why don't you play something and I'll watch? But sometimes when you play games with people, you get surprised, and you never know what to expect.
I was playing Grand Theft Auto with a friend the other day. We were all playing online, and she was actually quite good at the game, which was a lot of fun because, like, it wasn't. There's certain games that are frustrating to watch people play.
Yeah.
To the point where very few of them now are really bother me because it's all just fun. You're just messing around and having a good time. And Grand Theft Auto especially is just sort of made for that. But like watching somebody play Tetris, even if they're not bad at the game, even if they're good, Tetris is maybe the worst game to watch anybody else play because they do things that you wouldn't do, and you look at it and go, why?
Yeah.
It completely makes sense on ultimately in the long run. It's just like, why would you do that? And Tetris, I cannot handle.
Yeah.
People that are explicitly better than me at the game will do things, and I'll be like, why would you do that? Even though I know ultimately in the long run it's a better bet.
They set something up, and you're just like, okay, I still don't agree with your methods.
Yeah. Though also you look at a game like Puyo Pop, and I go, I don't understand anything that's happening ever. 100% of the time I play this.
Yeah.
Because I was watching my buddy Dave play, and he just goes, watch this. And I was like, how do you know what to do? And he goes, just watch. And he just starts putting things everywhere. And then eventually, the fourth of the 4 green blobs shows up, it hits, and then combo. And the game just almost naturally sets itself up for it. He kept doing it over and over, and I was like, how is this even happening? But yeah, I can't play that.
Wario's Woods, man.
No, that's
love
not me. That's my if we're gonna disagree on a game. And it sucks that I look at this game, which clearly only has Wario tacked in there because they were like, we need a licensed character to promote this.
Yeah. Wario and Birdo and Toad.
Yeah, Wario and Birdo with Toad as the protagonist.
Although Birdo's a good guy in that game.
I suppose that's true. But if you could play as Birdo, I'd play it.
Yeah.
I don't like Wario's Woods.
I love that game.
No.
It's so satisfying because the controls are so hard.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for that. The harder the controls are, like people shy away from that, and I'm like, oh, all right. Like assuming that it's a learning curve and not just like we made this hard to control because we don't understand how to make a game.
Yeah.
But if there's a learning curve to it that rewards you with greater control,
That's fair. What about like Splinter Cell, where you have to open like 4 menus just to like put a wire under a door to look out of a camera?
I don't like that. I don't like excessive.
When I think control.
What was I was playing something recently, and it was a game that I think maybe you or and like a lot of other people had told me they really enjoyed, and I just struggled with it because it was just a lot of menu navigation to do simple tasks.
It's an RPG. I don't know. What is you don't remember? You played it recently?
I don't remember. Shovel Knight. It was Shovel Knight. I love Shovel Knight.
Mm-hmm.
But especially the Plague Knight DLC is just constant menu navigation. There's another one. There's a Capcom game, like a Capcom Disney game, maybe, where you're just like constantly in and out of menus.
What were you playing Shovel Knight on?
PC.
Okay, because the only thing I can think of that would actually make the experience better is the 3DS. You can touch screen all of the special weapons and stuff. And I think that we actually maybe even had this exchange before.
I think we did, yeah.
Because it makes the game 1,000 times more playable, not having to pause to constantly get into like your special weapons. And so,
yeah.
like I would say maybe take the plunge, grab like the 3DS or Wii U version. And
I remembered what it is. It was Shovel Knight was definitely one of them, but the one that happened to me most recently was Demon's Crest.
Oh yeah, no,
I'm having a really hard time enjoying that. I recognize it as a really good, unique, like worthwhile SNES game, but I'm streaming it, and the buddy of mine who wanted me to stream it, he's like, "Oh, you need to use this power here," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want to.
Yeah, because
I don't want to have to go in and pick it, go out, do that thing, go back in to pick the power up that I like to use."
Yeah, it's straight Mega Man Gargoyle's Quest, and yeah, it's not very intuitive, unfortunately, because you can't use LNR to select between.
Nope.
The mountains, can you? Yeah, that sucks. Well,
achieve the glow, good controls, even if they're hard.
Rhythm game.
Talked
about a lot of rhythm games.
Yeah,
that was sort of like the core. Oh yeah, this podcast was supposed to be ASMR focused, so I'm gonna. I want to tell you something. I want you to imagine that you're eating a potato chip.
Can you do me a favor really quick?
Yes.
Can you do this for like 2 minutes straight by yourself? Yeah, I need to pee so bad.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is fine. This is fine. Okay, I'm gonna lull all of our viewers into a trance.
Okay.
You're up on top of a very tall mountain. And there's popcorn on top of the mountain. And it looks delicious. You clink your teeth together, pretending that you're eating the popcorn. And this is very sexual. And suddenly the popcorn is in your mouth. You feel each. This is too sexy for me. Somebody left the room. I don't blame them. Nope, they're back. Somebody's back. If you're watching this, I'm doing ASMR while Michael pees. You need something to drink so you can listen to me. So you can listen to me drink. Yeah. I would actually like to do this because I think it's a lot of fun. Here we go. This is... Right after you finish tearing open another envelope filled with popcorn. I don't like the idea of listening to people eat, but some people do. That's why I'm doing this. You take in the smooth mountain air with your nostrils. You clink your teeth together a couple more times. Why is this happening? This is what it's like, ladies and gentlemen. If you date me, this is the kind of shit you have to deal with.
What did I miss?
Well, I told a story about being on a mountain, clinking your teeth together, eating popcorn, and then tearing an envelope filled with more popcorn and then eating it so you could hear all the noises. ASMR. All right, listen. There it is. My bottle is making noise over there. The crisp mountain air flows through every single follicle of your hair. Your pores open up to let it in as it whistles gently across your skin. And there it is. More popcorn. I can't do it.
I would be really bad at ASMR stuff because I don't know. Like, I just be like, you're by the ocean. The sound of the waves hitting the beach lull you into a deep meditative trance. And then you realize how bad mermaids smell. They smell so bad. Like dead fish and the ocean.
Dead fish and
fish poop. Yeah, dead fish and the ocean.
Oh, I think
like, the ocean does not smell good. I don't know. Whenever I see like an ocean breeze detergent,
no,
I don't want that because that just smells like I left my clothes in the washing machine for 4 days.
Yeah, exactly. Just salt and shit. Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of the ocean scent. Okay.
Do you like ocean spray cranberry juice?
No, I'll throw it in the garbage can.
Ew.
Oh.
Garbage can.
Mm-hmm. I had to get my other microphone so I can ASMR wherever I go.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. It is very good. All right. Well, that's a pretty successful episode of the Cyber Zone. We kept on track for the most part.
Yeah. I was trying to explain it. I was like, someone asked me what our podcast was about, and I said, well, it's about video games for a while.
Yeah. Pretty accurate. I'm going to start doing an ASMR podcast.
That's a good idea.
You hear me pressing buttons on the controller. Did you ever get your bowl fixed, your salsa bowl?
No. I should remind my sister about that.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned that, though, when Aaron and I were streaming, because one of the limitations of my streaming equipment is that when we're streaming off an actual console, we can't have the camera on. So a lot of people are like, oh, where's the camera? Like, we want to see you guys. But it was from the get-go, the whole idea, the impetus behind our streaming together is that she gets to play classic games that since she didn't grow up with games that she missed. And we play them on the actual hardware so that it's the experience is there, like one-to-one.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are like, man, I never realized like how noisy like Super Nintendo controllers are because they creak and you hear the button tapping and it's like, yeah, that's all part of
that's the experience.
What goes on. Yeah, what goes on behind the game.
Mm-hmm.
VH1's behind the music.
Right, yeah.
The game.
Leif Garrett. It's it's like an old pirate ship. Like there's like a vintage element of buttons and like the tightness and like the sort of squeakiness. Yeah, I think it's the creaking of the plastic. I love it. I love that feeling. I like when I'm watching somebody play a video game, or I guess probably online, and I can hear them tapping the buttons. I like that so much.
Yeah.
You know? Like they're going crazy trying to like, you know, smash the buttons to make Mega Man shoot faster or something. A moment of desperation. Makes me feel good. Feel good about life.
Would you watch someone headbutt a gargoyle?
Would I?
Yeah.
I've watched Firebrand headbutt another gargoyle.
Would you watch a human do it?
Would he break it or would he break his own skull?
He just sort of like knocks it out of the air.
He knocks the gargoyle out of the air?
Yeah.
Like, is it a gargoyle like that's a statue? Why is it in the air? Or is it like an actual gargoyle like a monster that's attacked?
Like a gargoyle monster. It maybe just a bat. I can't tell.
Okay. Because like I would watch that for sure. That would be really awesome to watch like Pele or something try to like headbutt like a big stone gargoyle out of the air.
That's funny that you mentioned that because this video that I'm watching is like a soccer goalie. Did you watch the increasingly bad decisions of Todd Margaret?
I have, yes.
The new season's coming out.
What? When? Holy crap! I forgot about that.
Thursday, actually.
Oh, really?
Tomorrow.
The full season?
It's on IFC, so it's going to be a week at a time, I think.
Dang it! But that's okay. I'll still watch it.
But they posted a video of a Thunder Muscle commercial with a goalie like climbing a mountain, and he gets attacked by gargoyles, and he drinks the Thunder Muscle and just starts like blocking them as they try to swoop at him, or like he headbutts one of them.
My favorite part about that show is every time I try to show somebody, 98% of them are too uncomfortable to continue watching.
It's so hard to watch. Like I love shows like that.
I do too.
But that one is like the hardest one to get through.
It's pretty great. I like Sharon Horgan a lot too. I think she's really funny.
Yeah.
She's in a show that's on Amazon called Catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6 episodes long, but it's totally worth watching. It's really funny. Check that out if you get a chance.
I've made this kind of strange half news resolution to watch more TV this year because I don't like watching movies. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I definitely prefer TV to movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to be a little more broad in what I watch because I normally just I watch stuff on ESPN and Ninja Turtles, and that's like the 90% of the TV that I watch. But right now I'm rewatching Bob's Burgers, which I really like that show a lot.
And John Benjamin has a vocal timbre that is just it's perfect for every situation.
Yeah, it's like normally very relaxing, and then when he starts to freak out, it's just immediately entertaining.
Yeah, he's too good. Home movies, man. I could watch that show.
Have you watched Master of None yet?
Yes, I actually watched the whole season of that.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Oh, that hurt.
Yep.
It's so good, but it hurts so bad.
It strikes on every single chord that we're dealing with in our lives. Yeah. Young adults.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. Something I think I needed to watch. Put a lot of good stuff into perspective. Plus, I love Aziz Ansari.
Yes.
His delivery as like an American Indian. Well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too good. An Indian American. Can we say that?
Yes.
Does that make more sense?
Yes.
Because you wouldn't say an American African. It's African American. Right.
Yeah.
So he's an Indian American.
Yeah.
American Indian.
I guess if you wanted to be more specific, you could say a Bangladesh adjacent American.
Okay, that's good. You wouldn't say Indian because that's the only way I know how to say it, and that's of course not.
That's offensive.
You shouldn't say that because I don't know.
He doesn't have a dot, first of all.
Right. He has no bindi. He doesn't have the third eye.
He's from South Carolina.
From South Carolina, yeah. Everything about this is digging me deeper. But no, I love him. I love his delivery.
Yeah.
A lot. I think he's a great comedian.
His specials are good too.
Mm-hmm. I like him. He's one of the few that I can watch his stand-up. Some people, even if I love them as actors, I just can't watch them.
Yeah.
Have you seen F is for Family?
I have not. Netflix keeps throwing it at me, and I'm just there's something about the art style that I just want to avoid. But
I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but it captures a very 70s vibe, which is fun, and it's the color palette that they use. It ended up being a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Okay. I'm also probably going to check out BoJack Horseman this year finally too.
I also like BoJack because I love Will Arnett.
Yeah.
And I'm in love with Ninja Turtles. We watched more last night. And
what are you up to?
Probably episode 16. We're a little more than halfway done with season 3.
Okay, what was the last thing that happened? We need to talk about this. Sorry, listeners.
Okay, so yeah,
this is what happens.
You want to tune out for the next 20 seconds in case you care about Ninja Turtle spoilers. Most of you probably don't at all, but Casey Jones ended up fighting Bebop and Rocksteady by himself.
Mm-hmm.
No, they fought in the factory, and he fought Hun.
Oh, that's such a great fight.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, and Hun is super rad.
Yeah.
And yeah,
still fun. He's intimidating, but he's also really fun to just watch.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy how the choreography in that show actually is really incredible, and it's all hand animated. They really. There was a moment. So Juanita and I were hanging out right around New Year's Eve, and we went and watched Star Wars again. And this might offend some people's sensibilities, but we're sitting there watching Ninja Turtles, and things are happening. The Shredder's coming out, and Splinter appears, by like the April's like barn house area when Leonardo was sickened in the bathtub, and they're sitting around by the fire, and the spirit of Splinter comes up in the blue flame, just like the first movie, and like they just started getting into these things, and I just kept thinking, you know what? I like this better than Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I really enjoy it. I'm not like a Star Wars fanatic, but I'm watching Ninja Turtles here, and I'm thinking I'm more pumped about this as a kid's show, and it's just it feels so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And that was about the time they started getting back into like the actual main story elements is when I started getting pumped again. But man, like that show, it's so good.
You still have 12 episodes of season 3 and 5 episodes of season 4.
Yeah, so I still have a good chunk to watch and catch up on.
No, 4 episodes of season 4. They really, it's weird. So they stopped the show 4 episodes into season 4 on November 15th, and the next episode comes out this weekend.
I don't understand the schedule.
I don't either.
For the show at all. Like, or their DVD release schedule, where they're like, season 1 is X episodes long, so season 1 DVD is going to be like X times 0.3. That's a really weird way of putting it, but still, that's what they've done. That must have been their formula.
Yeah. No, you're actually getting a couple of fun episodes too. The next 3 episodes, kind of, we'll say 2.5, all are throwback character episodes.
Oh, good. What we watched? I don't know if this was actually the last one. We watched Muckman.
Okay, so yeah, there's that one.
We did see that one, and I was excited because as soon as I saw the dude fall in the trash, I was like, is he going to have a sewer lid for a leg? And then boom, nailed it. Yeah, I like that one. That was fun.
Oh yeah, the next episode it gets kind of crazy. Like they introduce a new sort of plot mechanic that's pretty dark, but it's fun.
Okay, I'm excited.
And then the episode after that, a new character from the old series comes in.
Is it Panda Khan?
It's not Panda Khan.
Is it Ace Duck?
It's not Ace Duck.
Is it a Triceraton?
Soon.
Because I saw the toy when I was over at
Yeah, the Triceratons really kind of are end of the season 3 arc.
Okay, cool. I'm excited. I was excited to see Hun show up too.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of.
There's another character from, I don't know if he was in the comics much because I don't know a lot about the original comic run, but there's a character that was prominent in the 2003 series, like Hun, that makes a comeback in the end of season 3 also.
Dang it. I love the show.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And I'm so pissed that it's easier for me to download it and get a higher quality version than it would be to go buy low-res DVDs.
Yes. Yeah. Nickelodeon does not make it easy.
No. I just want to go buy all the Blu-rays, but I can't. I have no choice but to not do that. All right. Well, one day they'll make a good Ninja Turtles game.
Yep. Hopefully that day is soon.
Hopefully soon. And I know people say, hey, what about the beat 'em ups? And it's they're fine.
Yeah, they're not great.
Amazing. They're the better of all the Ninja Turtles games.
Yeah. It's like people talk about the Simpsons arcade game. And they really like it. And it's one of those games, and there are a lot of games like this. It's sort of the recurring theme of me streaming games that people request, where it's like, you can like a game, and that's totally okay. And you're not wrong. But if you like a game because it's fun for 5 minutes and the game is 4 hours long,
yeah,
then you like those 5 minutes. Like, you don't like the game.
Yeah.
Simpsons Beat 'em Up is really fun conceptually for that first level or two.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sit down and play through it, and you're just like, why doesn't this stop?
Yeah, it keeps going. That's like the ultimate quarter cruncher. They did not understand pacing.
Nope.
But they understood how to make money because people did it.
Yeah. But don't have a cow shorts caramba.
Yep. At least it looked good. I like the way it looked. It was a good game. But yeah, it's definitely not one you want to play a lot of. I don't anyway.
And there's little thing. I like the way that Bartman flies. He has a swooping arc onto the screen when you start a life, and that looks really cool.
Good fan service, yeah.
And then you go back to playing the game, and it's
yeah, but at its core, it's just not that great. I like the team attack thing too, except for how much noise it makes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is it.
All right. Good job.
All right. Good
2016 job. Is in the bag. No more Cyber Zones till next year.
That's it. Yep. 2016. Take it easy.
Yep.
All right. everybody, thanks for watching. And I want you to do one thing for me. If you're watching this, go to www.screwthetruth.com. Check out more episodes of the Cyber Zone. Check out Amcast with our good friends Adrian and Morgan. And download every file you ever come across for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Nothing bad could happen.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine.
The worst that could happen is that you'd have a lot of information.
That's true. You'd be well prepared on Jeopardy.
The tests are coming up, I think, next week.
That's true. Or like if you get like captured and interrogated.
Yeah, I know someone who went to jail. So
bad.
don't do that.
Maybe not. Okay.
But if you do it, we're not financially or legally responsible.
No, not at all. I'll just watch you and be like, I told you you shouldn't have done that.
Yep. It was opposite day. You clearly didn't catch that.
Yeah, you were supposed to. It's Wednesday. That's opposite day.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon next time on the Zone.
Oh.